Hello everyone and welcome to our special coverage of China's annual political season, the two sessions. The lawmakers of the third session of the 14th National People's Congress, or NPC, will soon decide on key state affairs before wrapping up their annual meeting here in Beijing. I'm Zhong Shi.
And I'm Wang Mengmeng. After about a week of deliberation, deputies of the NPC will vote on plans regarding China's social and economic development, as well as legislative matters. NPC Standing Committee Chairman Zhao Leji is expected to address the closing meeting.
Some lawmakers will meet the media soon. After the session concludes, government ministers will also speak to the press.
And you can certainly watch our special coverage live on our social media platforms as well as the CGTN app. And as we wait for these events to unfold, let me bring our reporter Zhou Jiaxin. He's live for us from the Great Hall of the People, where deputies will be taking questions from the press. Well, Jiaxin, NPC deputies will take questions from reporters both home and abroad right ahead of the closing meeting. What can we expect from today's agenda?
Yes, Mamo and Zhong, this afternoon, inside this Great Hall of People, will draw close to this year's two sessions. And CGTN and other media outlets, as you can see behind me, they're waiting for the third, also the last group of deputies taking questions at the corridor before they final voting on a slew of draft resolutions. And we know these corridors has featured the Chinese legislation and policy focus on China's socio-economic policies and grassroots democracies, and also its reform and opening up. So during the first two corridor interviews, we learned from two CEOs with EV car makers representing the high-tech innovation industries. They share their entrepreneurial aspiration on a path to advanced technologies in manufacturing. And indeed, now the integrated advancement of technological and industrial innovation, among others, is the key and priority areas for Chinese government to finalize its 14th five-year development plan from 2020 to 2025. So according to the government report, the 2025 this year, China would advance the development of a modernized industrial system, and also under the Artificial Intelligence Plus initiative, the country will combine its digital technologies with manufacturing and market strength. So the following 5 years for the fifth five-year plan are likely to see an extensive application of AI models and also the intelligent terminals, as well as those smart manufacturing equipments, including what those deputies at the corridor discussed about the intelligent connect new energy energy vehicles, and also those AI enabled phones and computers. Now, at the corridor, we also heard some grassroots stories about how those village level and also ethnic minority cadres fulfill their deputy roles in helping increasing the local employment and also income as a part of the country's all-around rural revitalization. Now, these efforts, said in the government report, said the effort will continue to build a mechanism to prevent any kind of occurrence of poverty in this rural area. Of course, those efforts will also go to prevent, also to improve those livelihood and also the infrastructure and public services. So in the following minutes that we are expecting these interviews, we're looking forward to hearing more from those.
And of course, lawmakers from a variety of backgrounds will be taking questions from the media, and we'll certainly keep watching how that event unfolds there. Thank you so much, Jiaxin, for that update.
All right, now for more on the closing meeting, let's also check in with CGTN reporter Zhao Yunfei from his vantage point inside the Great Hall of the People. Yunfei, we know lawmakers will decide on key state affairs before wrapping up their annual session here in Beijing. In terms of official proceedings this afternoon, what are we looking at?
Hey there, Zhong Shi and Meng. Here inside the Great Hall of the People, we can certainly feel the atmosphere. You can probably hear the military band spent doing the rehearsal. Now we're coming to the very last day of this year's National People's Congress. All the nearly 3,000 deputies have finished their deliberation. So today's on the agenda is they're going to vote on all the resolutions. So that includes a lot of things on the agenda, including, first of all, vote on the draft decision of 4 work reports: the government work report, the work report of the NPC Standing Committee, the work report of Supreme People's Court, and the work report of the Supreme People's Procuratorate. In addition to that, there are 2 major plans on every year's 2 sessions, while the deputies will have to discuss the plan of the National and Social Development Plan. Now, there are 2 sections over this plan. Both implementation, how 2024 have implemented the plan and making the new plan for the year of 2025. So that's the National and Social Development Plan. In addition to that, the central and local budget plan as well. That also applies to the 2024 implementation description as well as what's going on for the year of 2025. So they're going to they're going to vote on the draft of both of those 2 plans as mentioned. In addition to that, they have to vote on the draft amendment of the deputies law. That's one of the highlights on this year's agenda, a law that belongs to the deputies themselves. This is the 4th amendment to this law, and this is certainly another effort for the deputies to build connections, to serve as bridge between the party, the country, and the people. And the country is another step forward toward the whole process, people's democracy. Over the past couple of days, past week, the National People's Congress said that they have received 269 proposals, and those proposals, most of them are legislative related. And in addition to that, more than 8,000 suggestions they have reached, and that really covers a wide range of topics, from boosting consumption to supporting enterprises and AI sectors. So now in the following year, before the end of 2025, the National People's Congress will have to address all of them. Now back to you.
Yunfei, appreciate that update from you. CGTN reporter Zhao Yunfei from inside the Great Hall of the People.
And my colleague Guthrie Manicam has more on the most discussed terms during this year's 2 sessions.
Several topics were on the table this year, but if we are going to narrow it down, I would say stability, innovation, consumption, and people's well-being were highlighted a lot. Now, first, let's talk about stability. China's GDP in 2024 reached more than 130 trillion yuan, or 19 trillion US dollars, and this is up 5% from the year before. The country continues to contribute around 30% of global economic growth. Last year, China created more than 12 million new urban jobs. Its consumer price index saw a 0.2% increase, while the disposable income per capita increased by 5.1%. Now, on the topic of innovation, which you highlighted earlier, Chinese President Xi Jinping said technological innovation and industrial innovation constitute the fundamental pathways for developing new quality productive forces. China's top economic planning body, the National Development and Reform Commission, says it plans to increase investment for technological innovation, cultivate talent by persistently developing a high-quality workforce, and foster an open and inclusive environment for innovation. Now, when you talk about consumption, this is a crucial force driving economic growth. The Chinese Commerce Ministry says it will introduce more practical and effective measures to expand consumption in both commodity and service areas. It's planning to strengthen and expand the trade-ins of consumer goods, with government subsidies covering more product categories. In turn, it hopes people will be more willing to spend. Now, lastly, people's well-being. This is a key integral part of Chinese modernization. Chinese President Xi Jinping has stressed the need to promote common prosperity for all people. Now, this is draft government work report. It's a draft one which will be later voted on this afternoon. Now, it will be talking about several of these measures, like creating more jobs, boosting basic health services, improving social security and service policies, as well as raising the basic pensions for retirees and pushing for reforms in elderly care services.
And now let's hear what lawmakers have to say about key issues ranging from the economy to national sovereignty.
制造业呢是我国
Manufacturing is the foundation and the basis of our nation's strength. As a builder and beneficiary of the development of China's manufacturing industry, Xiaomi will continue to pursue the path of scientific and technological innovation, take the road of high-end development, accelerate the cultivation and development of new quality productive forces, apply advanced artificial intelligence technology to all terminals, and bring these sci-tech benefits to consumers' daily lives while playing our part in promoting Chinese modernization.
When DeepSeek first came out, people were amazed, but that didn't mean previous advancements were irrelevant. Innovation is a continuous cycle. Each generation builds on the last. To keep pushing forward, we must strengthen fundamental research while ensuring real-world applications follow.
Expanding globally is a must for Chinese companies. While the domestic market still has room to grow, overseas markets offer vast opportunities. The challenge is twofold. Do we have the advanced technology and competitive products to succeed? And can we navigate rising protectionism and geopolitical tensions? In the past, China produced for the world. Now, businesses must take bolder steps, building factories abroad and adopting a regional supply for regional market strategy to stay competitive.
We can feel the policy consistency towards Taiwan and the greater efforts to promote exchanges and integration, as well as the stronger resolve to oppose separatism and external interference. We will also try to do more to deepen ties between people on both sides of the Taiwan Strait.
And joining us in the studio are Wang Huiyao, former Counselor of China State Council, and Adam Dunnett, Secretary General of the European Union Chamber of Commerce in China. Gentlemen, fantastic to have both of you joining us on our special program today. Mr. Wang, why don't we start with you? I know for a fact that you keep closed tabs on the two sessions every year. Why don't you start by sharing with us your observation of the two sessions in 2025? What have been the major takeaways for you?
Great, thanks, Jones. And I think this year, two sections is really significant. Actually, you see the world has changed a lot. I mean, we had most of the country's elections last year, and also this year we are having a drastically quite a challenging global environment now. But on the other hand, also you see China actually making great strides now. It's really this two sections hold that after 1 month of a Chinese New Year. Lunar months passed away. They are two sections means China in business, China back again, in full speed. And I see this year's two sections rally the mood, build up the confidence. President Xi met a private businessman right before the two sections, and also President Xi actually met the talent, scientific and educational community during the section. So I think this section has really gathered a lot of issues. Debate a lot of issues. I was quite impressed by the number they gave, 8,000 suggestions made by NPC members. So let's see, it's a whole process, democratic, making decision in the process. So what I think the big, of course, takeaway is, of course, they have still maintained 5%. That's a relief for the whole world. China engine is still booming and growing, and of course, also China going to be really a stability to stabilize the global economic and global affairs. And I was quite impressed with the foreign Mr. Wang's speech, which is giving at a news conference. It also showed that China is going to go further, safeguard multilateralism, and play more constructive and promoting peace role for the war in Ukraine and in Gaza. So I think this conference is really timely. The world is at a crossroad. We have a big paradigm shift. China is saying we haven't changed. We'll continue. We'll maintain open. We'll be even more open. Welcome the whole world. And I think this is really significant. And this is going to a lot of policy, made here. We're going to guide China for the remainder of 2025. And this is so important that we get this moment. And also 8 days, it's not really long, but it's a big boost to Chinese confidence and Chinese stability. And of course, all the government minister has to give their plan, have to give the talk, face the media. And so this is really great. I think China is doing this better and better. And I think this two sections will really give a new impetus for the Chinese new quality productive forces like AI, like many other things. So, and also the confidence, I see that's really big things, is confidence is back. You really don't see any COVID lingering over effect. It's gone. China is fully back in business, and I think China is doing great.
I'm sorry to cut you short, but Mr. Dunn will be back with you later on in our program. But for now, let's turn back to the Great Hall of the People, where deputies, the third session of the 14th National People's Congress, are getting ready to take questions.
14届全国人大3次
The
会议
third session
第
of
3
the
场代表
14th
通报
National People's
现在开
Congress,
始。
the third
本场代
Deputies
表通报
Corridor
的主题是
now starts.
基层一
And
线
for today's
大
corridor,
会
we
新闻中
invite
心
the
邀
deputies
请6
working
位
at
来
the
自不同
front
领域
line.
基层一
And
线
we
的
invited
全国人大代表
the
首
six
长代表通道
deputies from
回
different
答大家的
regions
提问。
and areas
现在请
to
第一
the
组代表。
corridor to answer the questions. Now let's welcome the first group of deputies.
2位代表分别是
They
河
are
南南阳雅民农牧有限公司
from
总经理
Yamin
赵昭
Agriculture
代
and
表，
Animal Husbandry, Nanyang, Henan
陕
Province,
西
Ms. Zhao
延
Zhao.
安甘泉县乔镇村
The
党
other
支部书
deputy
记樊九
is
平代表。
Party Branch Secretary of Tiaozhen Village, Ganquan County, Yan'an,
现在请大
Shanxi
家开始
Province,
提问。
Mr. Fan Jiuping. Now the floor is open to
请第一
questions.
排中央广播电视总台 CGTN 记者提问，谢谢。
谢谢主持人，我是中央广播
With
总台
CGTN,
的记者。我的问题
My
想提
question
给赵
to
昭代表。
Ms. Zhao
我
Zhao.
看过关于您的一些报道，
I
也
saw
非常
some
想了
your
解
reports.
您
I
在大
really
学
like
毕
to
业后
know
为
that
什么
after
会选
graduate,
择
why
返
you
香港
chose to
和欢迎您有
return
关的，能
to
跟我们讲讲
become
您的故事吗？谢
a
谢。
person that's farm with the cattle.
大家好。
Thank you for your question. My name is Zhao
是一
Zhao.
名来自基层的全国人
I
大
work
代表
at the grassroots.
河南省
I'm
南
also
漳
a
县泰山庙
deputy.
乡冯庄村
I
村民返乡创业青年。
returned to my
现在大家
hometown
说一个事
and
儿很
started
厉
my
害，
business.
喜欢用一个字来形容
And a
牛。
lot of things
我干的事儿
actually
和牛
I'm
有
doing
关。
around
我在我
is
们老家南
around
阳
cattle
养了
were
4000多
called.
头牛。
Right now I have 4,000 cattle
其实我是既熟悉
under
又陌
my
生的。
management. So talk about cattle. I quite familiar or not that familiar. We talk about we actually my hometown quite famous of raising cattle. But I did not really have a lot of contact with cattle. After graduate, actually I really made a decision that's surprising everyone. Because my families actually thought it's not a good idea. So they persuade me to say, you didn't know how to do that. It's a really that the hard work. It's not really decent work. So you could find a really nice job in the cities while you came back. So the decision actually not really that reasonable because after graduation I found a quite nice job. That's actually between my commute between the cities and rural areas, I really saw a big differences for my generation. Why we went to university for study? It's not like we would like to leave our home. It's like we would come back to our hometown with knowledge. That is why I would like to create my own business in my hometown. I started from zero. I also created my own cooperative. Back then, there was no fund. I also actually got a loan to build up the factories. I didn't know any technology behind, so I studied a lot. I read a lot of books. I also learned from masters in this regard. Started from 50 calls, started get step by step to increase the number. After 7 years of my starting my business, I had around 1,000 cattle. So you thought it's quite good that result, but actually a thing happened. Actually, the price first of all decreased, and also mass disease happened among the cattle. I also thought of maybe it's a time to give up. I could not proceed anymore, but I asked myself, I really did something from 0 to 1. I right now encounter some difficulties. I should give up, or like the cow, like the cattle, to move ahead, despite some hard time facing right now. I cultivate that the cattle for beef, and also to increase that the living standards for the neighbors and also the villagers there. So I overcame the difficulties by innovating the models of breeding and raising the husbandry and help the local villagers to increase the efficiency. So I also to transfer the cow dung into that needed for the local mushroom to grow, and also help that the local villagers be lifted out of poverty. So I feel that actually that the agriculture and rural areas, they need young people, because we talk about the rural area, there's a vast room for young people to really use your knowledge, to show your skills, because that's a big field of hope, and also that a farmer become an attractive job. And that is also my hope and duty as a deputy. Thank you.
请大家继续提问。
Next question, please.
请这位举手的中国网记者提问，谢谢。
谢谢中国网记者提问。
Thank you. I'm
代
with
表您
China
好，
News.
乡亲们都叫您樊公号，请问
And
这
my
个
question
称呼
is
是怎么来的呢？您在从事调解工作中是如何为老百姓服
you
务
are
的呢？
known
谢
for
谢。
being impartial, and how did you get this title?
谢谢记者朋友的提问。
Thank you for your question.
我从小喜欢陕北说书。
I like the talking show of Shanxi from a very young age. I actually learned this drama for quite some years, and then I came back to my hometown. I have traveled across the country.
他们也有大小矛盾纠纷。
And so when residents get into disputes, and they reach out to me to adjudicate the disputes. So I have embraced the spirit of impartiality and handled a lot of disputes, and have won the recognition and trust of all the villagers. They recognize my perseverance and impartiality, and so they give me titles such as impartiality. Over the years, I have harvested a sense of satisfaction, and then over the course of this period, I have developed this career, and my reputation expanded to a larger area of jurisdictions, and I have been working in this field for 23 years and have handled over 2,000 disputes amongst the residents. And that is why for 2 times I have been awarded by the Department of Justice, and the People's Court of Ganquan County appointed me as a mediator. And they even set up a mediation room for me. And because of my efforts, the Ganquan County set up 86 such mediation rooms. At the same time, a number of mediators have been cultivated. To sum up my experience over the years, I have concluded 5 major lessons of my work. The first is courage. You need to be courageous in front of disputes. The second is justice. You need to be fair and just, and make sure that you take the side of villagers, and then you will have no disputes that you cannot handle. The third is patience. Some of the disputes, they are truly sophisticated, and you will have to get into that dispute for 3 or more times, and you have to knock people's door for several days in a row before it's eventually solved. And the next is confidence, and you need to walk into the grassroots and people's households, and whenever you identify some disputes, and you should rush to the front line. And then that is the original mission. I am a CPC member. I'm also a deputy of the NPC. The people have placed on me great trust. I have always remembered the important instruction of General Secretary Xi. I have incorporated the work of mediation and resolution of people's disputes in my work so as to make sure that whenever we have disputes, the disputes can be resolved from its beginning stage and from its own locality. So my greatest wish is harmony amongst the people and peace in the world. Thank you.
Thank you, two deputies. Now let's welcome the second group of deputies. They are Party Branch Secretary of Maodian Village, Wugangshan, Pingxiang, Jiangxi Province, Ms. Tan Xinping, and Ms. Wang Xiuying, Agricultural Economics General Station of Zhangwu County, Liaoning Province. Ms. Wang Xiuying, now the floor is open.
Thank you.
With CMG, my question to Ms. Tan Xinping. Good afternoon. I know you work at the party branch at the village. So how you work with the villagers to build the Maodian village as a very beautiful place? Thank you for your question. Good afternoon. My name is Tan Xinping from Wugongshan, Pingxiang, Jiangxi Province. I work at Maoding Village. Previously, it's a very remote, small village. We enjoy the beautiful places and also very nice agricultural products, but it's not really in a large scale, and also we did not have channel to sell them. So a lot of really nice products, the village, the vegetables, and also the rice actually could not sell at a good price. The local villagers, they spend a lot of efforts around the year, but they could not really get quite a good money back. That is why we thought about we should expand the channel of sales. So we should bring that very nice products from the mountain to larger markets to help the local farmers to increase their income. So as a deputy working at the village, I always keep in mind General Secretary Xi saying that the party branch should be the leading team to lead the local farmers live a better life. So we think about that, how to really make suggestions to expand the local products sales channels. And we last year also had the cold chain and also the distribution and logistics center available in the village. So that helped to really bring the fresh vegetables and other products to the market. So that also that the center helped us to do that order by order production. So that the local villagers do not need to really take a bet to decide what kind of the product they need to plant. So we have quite a clear target about what kind of the products we need to plant, and also we know exactly where to sell, and also that the farmers can immediately get the money back. So previously, the local farmers need to travel a long distance to the other places to sell their products, and also sometimes they could not really sell the products. But right now, that as long as they bring the products to the logistics center, they can immediately get the benefit. So right now you could see that a lot of really nice, tasty products from the village and through that logistics center right now enjoyed by the people in the center. And we also work with large companies to promote the way of cultivating the rice, and also we create our own the rice brand that also encourage local people to plant rice. And also, besides all the agricultural production, we also focus on the tourism. Last October, Maodian Village also very lucky that it could be a few places like the CMG's documentary, and also attract a lot of the people in other places who would like to take that tourist destination to our village. And previously, it is a really bare land. Right now is full of the valuable products. Previously, there a lot of the abandoned rooms, and right now become a very famous and also quite hard to book a room in the village. Previously, people did not know the name of my village, but right now it become a must-go place. So on behalf of all the village in Maodian Village, I will send an invitation to all the people. Please do have a visit to Maodian Village, Wogongshan, to enjoy that happiness of a harvest and enjoy a beautiful countryside. Thank you.
请大家继续提问。请举手的农民日报记者提问。
Next question, please.
农民日报全媒体记者
With
提问。
Agriculture Daily.
王秀英代表您好。
My question is to
您来
Wang
自
Xiuying.
辽宁张武，
You
那
come
是我国
from
治沙的
Zhangwu
前
of
沿之
Liaoning,
一。
and that
您
is
长期
the
从事沙化耕地
front
之
line
一，
of China's
请讲讲
desertification
是如
efforts,
何
and you
留
have
住
been
水、
engaged
含
in
住
this
沙、
for
保
quite
良
some
田了
time,
吗？
and
谢谢。
could you share with us some of your success experience?
大家好，
Thank you for
我
your
是一
question.
名来自辽宁省
I come
富集
from
市张武县的基层农地推广人员。
Zhangwu County of
在
Liaoning
沙化
Province.
耕地治理及
I'm
农业技术
working
推广方面，
in an agriculture
不但
economics
就是
general
30
station. I have been doing this job for more than 30 years.
辽宁省
My hometown is located in the northwest of Liaoning in the south of Kerchen Desert. It is a typical area with a very vulnerable situation in between the border of agriculture and desert land. And in the beginning years of the founding of People's Republic of China, 96% of our land was covered by desert. And within 1 hour, the sand could come into the Shenyang city. And we had the saying in our place that when you have wind that blows, and you have to light up a candle, even in the day. So it is against such harsh environment that in 1952, China's first desertification research station was set up in Zhangwu County. When I was 6 or 7 years old, I followed the steps of my brother and my parents to plant trees on the mountains, and I still remember to this day very vividly the feeling of sand and brushed onto my face. And for generations, people from Zhangwu, they have defied the odds, and they explored one of the 3 desertification solutions, which is desertification by the plantation of trees. This laid a solid foundation and provided the Zhangwu solution to China's desertification efforts. I'm a senior economist in Zhangwu. We explored to defy the sands through trees and grass and sunshine. And this is a holistic system of solutions. And nowadays, the green coverage of the county reached 96%. The Zhangwu shadow belt was extended to the north by 13 kilometers. The average sand speed reduced from 3.4 meters per second to 1.9 meters per second nowadays, which successfully curbed the southward expansion of the Kerchen Desert and safeguarded the ecological security of Liaoning's northwestern part. Along this process, we also achieved greater prosperity. As I mentioned, we had a lot of sand, and so we have to grow sweet potatoes. To change this situation, I have traveled to all the townships in the north of Zhangwu County. At the very beginning, people couldn't understand why we have to give up growing peanuts and corns and embrace sweet potatoes. And then we comprehensively utilized all types of technology, and we proved that we are right with the grain output. My research team was the one to undertake China's first program of growing corns in desert heat regions, and for 2 consecutive years we have had great harvest. So in so doing, we have transformed the sand into cropland. In 2023, the CPC Central Committee launched a crucial battle against desertification, and it was in that year that I became a deputy of the NPC, and I submitted a couple of proposals in this regard, which were accepted by relevant stakeholders, and we also set up the comprehensive desertification belt in the south of Cochin and deserts, and we also set up a comprehensive pilot zone for cropland expansion. So we have accomplished a couple of goals last autumn. We celebrated the harvest in the vast cornfield, and I have seen with my own eyes the smiles on people's faces, and I have truly felt how green development has brought tangible benefits to the villagers. Thank you very much.
Now let's welcome the third group of deputies. They are Curator of Cultural Museum of Altai Prefecture from Xinjiang Uyghur Autonomous Region, Deputy Zhuoya Bahati, and Party Committee Secretary Chairman of CRC Zhuzhou Institute, Mr. Li Donglin. Now the floor is open to questions. With Guangming Daily, my question to Ms. Zhuo Yang. Good afternoon. As a person protecting the cultural relics, how through your work to understand that how to carry forward the civilization of Chinese culture and make the cultural relics vivid? Thank you for your question. My name is Zhuoya Bahati from Xinjiang Uyghur Autonomous Region of China. A TV series to the wonder that many people know my hometown, Altai, and here you could enjoy a lot of different ice resorts and also the beautiful lakes and landscapes, and also here reach of the cultural relics. And we talk about through the years that the people from different ethnic groups created the appreciable the cultural relics and civilizations. And also you could find a lot of the documentary also started from a painting rock or rock painting from Altai. I believe that's one of the way to make the cultural relics live again. So as a curator, one of my daily routine is to really check the immovable cultural relics. In our museum, we have a very special one. It's a flying horse. You could see at the show that's the dynamic, and also you could see that the energy. I believe you could kind of familiar with the horse turns on the swallow. I believe this is also the treasure on the Silk Road. It's our responsibility to protect and also to carry forward the civilization of all these cultural relics. As a deputy working at a grassroots and the front line of the National People's Congress, one of my key jobs is how to better preserve and manage the immovable cultural relics. Because if you look at the Altai Prefecture, a lot of that cultural relics actually outside, so that's exposure to the area, to the wind. For example, like the painting rock paintings, that's kind of the examples. So I also made a notion to suggest that we should use the digital way to help us to first understand that the painting lines, the details of all these paintings, and also that could help us do the restoration work afterwards. That also got the feedback from the relevant authorities. And also started from this year, the law of the People's Republic of China on the protection of cultural relics. Also in fact, that also give us a good ground to continue our work. We have 40 team members in 8 teams and also work with the people from other areas. We check from A to Z all the cultural relics in terms of immovable cultural relics, and also to study how the way of work and the living, how that impact the condition of the cultural relics. We know that the cultural relics actually speaks the tremendous value of Chinese civilization and also our history. I believe that is also our duty to protect them well and also to make them live again. I believe that's also one of our key jobs. Thank you.
谢谢，请大家继续提问。请第一排举手的女士提问。
Next question, please.
谢谢主持人。中国人大杂志社记者提问：李宗林代表，你好。高铁是中国亮丽的名片之一。作为来自高端装备制造业的代表，你觉得应该如何更好推动科技创新和产业创新融合发展？谢谢。
Integrated development of science-tech and industrial innovation.
大家好。
Thank you for your question. I come from the Hunan delegation. My name is Li Donglin. I come from Zhuzhou CRRC Institute. We're located, of course, in Zhuzhou. Zhuzhou is renowned as the cradle of China's high-speed railway. It has the largest high-speed railway industrial cluster. 90% of the high-speed railway products come from Zhuzhou. And also following the steps of Belt and Road, our products are exported to 70 countries and regions in the world. And last year, our total economic scale exceeded 160 billion yuan. And President Xi Jinping has given us a lot of appraisals, and he hailed our efforts as the macrocosm of China's manufacturing success and a golden business card of China's manufacturing industry. And my institute has embraced the path of high-tech innovation. 80% of the technologies have been commercialized into the industrial level, and we talked about the integration of high-tech innovation and industrial innovation, and we have the following observations. First, we have to allow high-tech innovation to play a leading role because it is the engine of industrial development. Each and every year, our R&D investments account for more than 8% of our revenue. We're focusing on security, power, and control of EMU chains. We have successfully transformed from industrial chips to security independent technologies. So that is why China is leading in terms of high-speed railway trains. And not long ago, the CR450, the high-speed EMU, was rolled off the production line. It has a design speed of 400 kilometers per hour. We are behind the power and control solution of this system. Additionally, we need to promote the efficient commercialization of high technology, we have to embrace integration, because right now we have 400 enterprises on the chain and 28 national level innovation platforms and 34 professional institutions of higher education, and we believe that within one cup of coffee time you can produce tens of thousands of parts and components for high-speed railway. Our efficiency has shortened the cycle of development, and from an idea to a product, we are truly able to deliver within a very short period of time. And because of our technology, we have also incubated new energy vehicles and the new energy industry, so that the transportation and new energy can be truly integrated into one industry. And we are already spearheading the industry so that we are able to serve the transformation of China's energy mix. And last but not least, I believe it's important to concentrate on talents. Talents are the most important assets. Over the years, we're able to bring in talents and retain them, and we have made some meaningful explorations. And we believe talents are of great significance, focusing on smart algorithms and smart grid management technology. We built a number of laboratories and set up a talent park. So we also built a supportive environment for innovation. So as long as we have a good environment, we will be able to attract the talents. We also work with the local government to build a AI Research Academy to bring on board the leading talents in this regard, so as to facilitate China's aviation, high-speed railway, and Beidou navigation systems, so as to constantly bring value and added value to this industry. At the end of the day, we are able to benefit everyone and create a splendid future for all of us. Thank you very much to both deputies. Dear friends from the media, after the NPC concludes this afternoon, the press center of the session will host the third Ministers' Corridor. We are going to invite the Ministers of Natural Resources, Culture and Tourism, and General Administration of Sports to meet the press. And this is the end of today's Deputies' Corridor. Thank you very much.
Well, as we saw right there, deputies of the National People's Congress, also China's lawmakers, were taking questions from the press. They touched on a variety of issues, including entrepreneurship, rural vitalization, ecological conservation, cultural protection, as well as industrial innovation. So quite a few issues to be discussed there. And now we want to get the thoughts from our studio guests here, Mr. Wang Huiyao and Mr. Adam Dunnett. So a foreign analyst and, of course, expat community is closely following the two sessions here in Beijing, as they will provide a window into how China plans to push forward its path forward, and also how it will engage with the rest of the international community. I want to get your thoughts, Mr. Dunnett. How do you see the significance of such deputies' corridor in helping get the messages across?
Well, first, this event is a milestone in the Chinese political calendar, and so for foreign businesses, we watch it very, very carefully. The government work report is publicly available, so I hope the listeners from the foreign business community go online and they look and see and read for themselves what's in it. It's an extremely comprehensive document at a very, very high level that gives a very, very good economic, social, environmental, technological defense view of what's going on in China. And then going back to some of the questions and topics you talked about earlier, what I think is amazing in this whole process is so many proposals have been put forward. As one of your reporters just mentioned earlier, over 200 proposals, over 8,000 comments on this. And again, I think a lot of people aren't aware that the public can comment on these proposals. These were online and people could go on and put in their view as well. And so going back to the issue of the corridor itself, I think, again, it's so important to be able to explain to people, whether it's in China or in other countries around the world, that the political legislative process is one which should come from the people as well. It should be based on their needs and developments, and for them to be able to contribute to that is really important. I come from the European Union Chamber of Commerce in China, and one of our goals is to create a better business environment here in China, and we follow a very similar process whereby we ask our members for their comments, we put it together, and then we put it forward to the authorities here in China as well. So what I remarked from the deputies' corridor, again, which is really good because it brings the whole democratic process here under the Chinese Communist Party's leadership to the people. Right? And so you saw here many deputies from different parts of China, different industries, different even ethnic backgrounds, asking and answering questions from reporters on the topics you just mentioned. So on agriculture, I think people often forget China's got still a very significant agricultural community, and there's lots of progress that can be made here. Again, the whole work report and the plan for the next year ahead is about improving progress through stability here in China, but also leveraging the new quality productive forces. So I know from our members, for example, in the agricultural sector, they're very interested in contributing with their crop science, with taking China and using the multilateral system, for example, and bringing into play pesticides, so that China joins the multilateral system on that. And in other sectors as well, we talked about Zhuzhou. I saw the capital of China's rail center. European companies, again, very active in this sector, and a lot of recent developments as well in the procurement industry for rail, for example. They've recently made in the last month a change in the policies that allow European companies to contribute towards that as well. So this whole event, the two sessions and the plans going forward, the European business community is very pleased to participate. We watch it very closely, and we look forward to contributing to the goals ahead.
In terms of the 6 speakers just now, Mr. Wan, and the 6 NPC deputies, as hard to miss that these are not high-ranking government officials. They're truly the grassroots workers working in the very front line. You know, we're talking about a mediator, a people's mediator, an entrepreneur, a villager, a local museum curator. And they talked about their everyday work, the hardships that came with the job, and their respective ways of addressing the issues in their line of work. And that gives them credit. That makes you see why they're the representative from their constituencies, why they understand the concerns of the people that they represent. So let me get your take also, Mr. Wan, on this form of communication between the deputies and members of the public, members of the press and media, and China's continuous efforts to increase transparency and publicity of the work here.
Absolutely. I think this is very innovative. Actually, I also travel around the world quite a lot. I was talking about this Chinese-style democracy is very unique because you see, actually, you have almost 3,000 deputies attending NPC and 2,000 CPPCC members. It's almost 5,000. And then if you time that by 4, you have a provincial, municipality, at a county level. There's about 1 million, probably over 1 million. And the deputies and PPCC level and PPCC member at the different levels. And then they all able to make comments. I was a Beijing CPPCC member myself, and also I was a state councillor. And then, you know, we have a time to write proposals, and the government department has to respond. I had the directors general of different year when I comment on different matters. They come to my office and say, look, here's your proposal, how can we improve that? So that kind of consultative democracy is really very unique. And then, as you said, from grassroots, throughout the country, 5,000 in total at the national level. You got another 1,000, 2,000 at the municipality level, provincial level, another, you know. So I think this is very constructive. And also, it's quite also build a consensus. I saw these 2 sections as a consensus building process, even though it's cut down from 10 half months to 8 days. But this whole process gathered together is really to unify the mind and get consensus. And what's more important for a big country like China, 1.4 billion people, you need really get people march on to the same objective, one 5-year plan after another 5-year plan. That's how China make miracles. So I think this kind of a political exercise is so important. It's actually China very innovative, and also China have this meritocracy democracy. Every year, 13 million college graduates are admitted from 15, 60 million examiners by examination paper, and another 2 million, 3 million went to the public servant official exam, only 200,000 selected. That's a practice for thousands of years. So you have really, and then for the government officials, you have to perform from village, county, municipality, province, even central government. So this system really has its logic, and it really makes a lot of sense for a country like China with Confucius values and 5,000-year history of tradition. So I think this, even though it's 8 days, but at such a national level, showed a good example to the layers down below, province, municipality, and county level. So that's China, how governed, how democratically governed. So that's a very interesting example of how this effectiveness is coming from.
All right, gentlemen, appreciate your insight. Do stay with us on our special program here. And you're watching CGTN special coverage as Chinese lawmakers wrap up their annual gathering in Beijing. We'll be right back after this.
China's annual political season convenes at a critical juncture for advancing Chinese modernization. Deputies and political advisors gather in Beijing to outline this year's blueprint. Resilience and innovation. China is set to strengthen new quality productive forces for high-quality growth. Reform and opening up. China is further embracing business as unilateralism looms over the global economy. People-centered development and a shared future. China upholds true multilateralism for global peace and prosperity. Full coverage of the China agenda throughout the 2 sessions, only on CGTN.
Welcome back. Chinese lawmakers have submitted 269 bills to the country's annual legislative session. Now, these bills primarily cover legislation in key, emerging, and foreign-related areas. The session has also received over 8,000 suggestions from lawmakers. The suggestions cover a wide range of topics, including boosting consumption, promoting AI to drive economic growth, and protecting the rights and interests of private enterprises.
And one important task for the lawmakers today is to decide on a work report of the Standing Committee of the NPC, which will shape the future of legislative plans. And for more on that, let's go live to CGTN reporter Ho Na at the Great Hall of the People. Ho Na, you have been following the legislative work very closely. Tell us your observation during the 2 sessions this year.
Hello there, Zhongshi and Mangmang. Greetings from the Great Hall of the People here in Beijing. Though it's a little cloudy and windy here, but people were so excited to attend the final and the 3rd plenary session of the 14th National People's Congress. Well, during the past week, I've been talking to lawmakers, journalists, youngsters. Well, we all have the same feelings about the efficiency of the session. Not only has the schedule of the session has been more concentrated, but people, or especially lawmakers, get faster response from the NPC. Let me give you an example. Earlier I was talking to lawmaker Cui Shiping. Well, he's the independent director from the People's Bank of China. Well, he told me during the interview, he brought me 3 pieces of paper that he received from the National People's Congress. One is, his suggestion during a group deliberation on the government work report on March the 5th. Well, he said, okay, so I think the government has done more than it has stated. You should add some certain terms in the government work report. And the next day, on March the 6th, he got the very fast response from the NPC saying, okay, it sounds good, we'll take it. So he was so excited to show the fast response, much faster than previous years. And also, he showed me 2 other pieces of paper that he got from his previous suggestions and proposals on, a piece of legislation regarding the Supreme People's Court. The letter said, okay, thank you for your suggestion. Your suggestion has already been listed or intake in the, some legal terms in which laws and regulations. So we appreciate your suggestion. I heard that, during the studio discussion, our guest, Wang Huiyao, also said, he got really fast response from the CPPCC. The same here happened to MPC. You know, lawmakers were so impressed by the efficiency of the MPC. And meanwhile, as you mentioned, Zhongshi, you know, one important task during the closing session is to pass a work report of the National People's Congress Standing Committee, China's top legislature, which will pretty much lay out the future task of China's legislative work. You know, it will be a very busy year for the top legislature, as you know, around 34 bills will be deliberated and discussed during throughout the year. And I know one particular draft will draw people's attention. That's the China's very first draft law on the protection and promotion of China's private enterprises, which garnered global attention during a seminar. And right after the Spring Festival, you know, President Xi Jinping held a seminar when talking and addressing to the heads of China's major leading private enterprises, you know, which signals China's strong commitment to promote the private enterprises development, which is a perfect testament of the resilience of the Chinese economy. You know, the law was initially put to vote on December last year for first reading, and then the whole first draft was put to the official website of the National People's Congress to solicit public opinion. And during a month's time, you know, altogether over 700 pieces of advice has been collected during the month's time, and especially there were 87 pieces of suggestions from 22 MPC members, MPC deputies, and those suggestions and advice have been adopted immediately at the second draft, which has been passed in February this year. So probably it will have a third review in the coming months to come. And let me give you a little background. Normally, a law regulation has to be amended or deliberated for at least twice before it's put to vote at the third time. So, you know, within probably a couple of months' time, we have a piece of legislation from very beginning until it's passed. So that shows the fast pace of a piece of legislation. And also, you know, by solicit public opinion online, that shows people's involvement. And that is a perfect example of, you know, the whole process of people's democracy. You know, another important highlight during the legislative work is the drafting of China's first environmental code. Of course, CGTN will keep you all updated. And also, it will mark my last, live cross from the Great Hall of People to cover the two sessions. I would like to extend my warmest appreciation on behalf of a little team here on Legal Talk. Thank you so much for, you know, giving us all the attention on China's legislative work. CGTN will definitely always keep you updated. Now it's back to you, Mama and Zhongshi in the studio.
Well, it's certainly been a very fruitful work for our team and for our reporter Andes Hona. Thank you so much for your reporting. We appreciate it.
Well, now let's hear more views from our guests here. So, gentlemen, this year is notably different as we are entering the final year of the 14th five-year plan. These are a series of initiatives put in place, setting out goals, domestic and international, for China to achieve during that period of time. Now, looking back, if we reflect at the past achievements, what significance does this milestone carry, Mr. Wang, and what do you see China pursuing next?
Well, absolutely. I see this mechanism of 5 years planning is such a huge successful formula that China has, because I would travel a lot of countries that said you have a 5 years plan. You know, sometimes we have a very short span of a political cycle. So this 5 years plan is important. It set out the priority. It's also had a deliberations. It also had two sections. It has many experts' discussions. So then they set a target, and then they try to achieve it. And normally they all achieve it. One of the things now they propose for the next 5 years plan is new quality productive forces, which is absolutely another new milestone we're going to achieve. China has gone from manufacturing, importing, exporting, and now to upgrading environment, green transition, now to AI. So I think, you know, the technology part is really become so important now in a 5 years planning process, but also talent. China cultivate almost 250 million college graduates. Every year there's a 30 million graduated. You know, that's enormous. 10 years will be 130 million people. So it's an enormous exercise. So for the next 5 years plan, I think it's important because the AI is coming. We are getting to the AI age now. So that's exactly new quality productive forces. So I think for the next 5 years plan, which is this year, is the ending of the 14th 5 years plan, and next year we'll start our 15th five-year plan. So this annual section is so important to really see what are the hottest topics, what are the priorities, what are the key challenges we have to face. So I think that exactly this exercise is about. So I'm quite sure the next 5 years plan will cover all those leading topics and challenges. And China is going to get a new phase when your GDP reached the 12,000 threshold, to 13, 14,000 US, which China will be an advanced country now. So I think it's important that we set a target and rally the crowds and of course different level of government officials and people in general, but also have this 5 years plan, put it out, and then let's continuously achieve another 5 years of success. But the foundation, the preparation, the deliberation, and consultation is exactly this two session is about.
Mr. Dunnan, let me just follow up on what you said earlier, because Mr. Wang just now mentioned the matter of confidence exhibited by China throughout the two sessions when the Chinese government has again set its annual economic growth target at 5%, on par with its actual GDP growth in 2024. And you mentioned how European business are eyeing opportunities in this process. They wish to contribute. For foreign companies operating in China, they're looking for that level playing field. They're looking for opportunities. And China wanting to grow and continue to contribute to the world economic growth as an engine here gives that confidence to foreign companies and foreign enterprises. How can European businesses contribute in this process?
Well, I think first and foremost, European businesses have invested significantly here in China in almost all sectors, and they believe strongly in the future of China's economy, and as I said earlier, want to contribute to it. Building confidence is the process for that involves a lot of factors. I mean, statements from senior Chinese officials are very important. Pieces of legislation that actually come out and follow it up, also very important. But implementation in and of itself is probably the most important thing. And so we've seen a lot of policy documents coming out from the State Council just 2 weeks ago, February 19th, the policy on stabilizing foreign investment, the government work report, the 14th five-year plan, all very clearly states that the Chinese party government welcomes foreign investment in China. European companies are looking at opportunities here, but first and foremost, they need to see a market opportunity. And the 5% growth that you just talked about and we experienced last year, that gives you a good indication of how the economy's growing at a very, very high level macro sense. But for individual companies and sectors, what they care about is profitability in their sector. Is there a customer, a client that they can sell to? And in this other buzzword that we've been talking about, involution or neizhen in China, a lot of companies are being very cautious right now because they want to ensure that if they make the investment into new products or technologies, that at the end of the day, they're going to be able to sell these products at a profit, right? They're profit-driven companies. It's normal. And because there's a lack of demand in the market, however you want to characterize it, for a lot of them, what they're looking at is not simply the high-level statements and policies. They're actually looking at what's happening in the market for themselves. And so, yes, the statements are important, but implementation, and I noticed that in the work report itself, Premier Li Qiang said specifically that he is focused on the implementation itself, and that it shouldn't be slow, and that it should be done efficiently and effectively. And so I think that's a huge important follow-up to this important 10-day period of the two sessions is what happens afterwards.
Well, multinationals and foreign companies are looking at the implementation of China's measures to improve the business environment. The private entrepreneurs here are also eyeing opportunities because they are really given this important task to keep driving China's economy forward. We know that the private economy really contributes to, a big part of China's tax revenue, employment as well. And by the end of last year, there were about 55 million such companies. how do you look at the role and the leverage of the private enterprises in pushing China's economy forward?
So important, it's extremely important because, as you mentioned, the private sector contributes almost 56% of the tax revenue, 70% of innovation, 80% of science, and almost 90% of employment. So it's so crucial for China. I think the success formula China has become second largest economy. China does have a mixed economy. You have SOE, state enterprise, looking after some key sectors, but the variety, the vast majority of the private sectors are really innovative and very hardworking and also, eager to learn. So, with China, government provide an open door policy, and then they can merge with foreign companies for JVs, for corporations, for innovations. And what's more exciting about these two sections is about 2 weeks before this section, President Xi met over few dozen top China private entrepreneurs. That's a strong, boost of the confidence, because I'm thinking, how about, we continue so many years now, our private sector still needed, are still important. The government give them a really assurance that, of course, you are part of the system, will be legalized, you're part of the system. And China going to this section to talk about promoting private enterprise law, soon to be passed. Now they are asking all the comments and the revisions. But I think with all those two things gathering, law and President Xi attending that meeting, it really injected the vitality and vigor into the private entrepreneur community. I met a lot of private entrepreneurs lately. They are all excited now. So I think that's probably a good sign. And then I'm sure combined with that, multinationals are also important. Multinational are private sectors as well. They are part of China business. So private sector, Chinese private sectors, and SOE, that's a hybrid economy, a unique model you never see anywhere in the world. So that's why China is so working well. Government have resources to mobilize. Private sector has innovation, has a lot of entrepreneurship, and multinational can really, helping Chinese company. And private sector now going global. We were forced by Donald Trump, have all those taxes. The Chinese enterprises are going global ahead of schedule now. So you see the globalization of China is really expanding. And so I think with both China, in China, and in China for the world, Chinese private enterprises are embracing a golden opportunity that is coming up. And even though with the tariff war going on, but China now trade more with, less with U.S., actually more with world. U.S. trade is only count about 10%. 90%, 70% of Chinese business is trading with the rest of the world, in addition to G7. So you see the market expanding. China trade more with Belt and Road countries now than with G7 now. So I think there's opportunity is enormous for private sector. And then this kind of conferences two sections is really to rally the morale, build up the consensus and boost the confidence. And government also giving 300 billion, fast financial measures, loans and bonds and things like the stimulated consumptions. So I think things are still improving steadily after COVID. China, I think this year is doing much better, of course. So we're going to hear later the tourism minister. The tourism is also booming. So I'm cautiously optimistic. I think China will stay on and will continue its reach this successful path.
And we could feel that over this year's two sessions, authorities are pretty frank about the risks and challenges that the Chinese economy is experiencing. But then there's also a strong message of confidence in pushing the economy forward, in the sense that they believe that Chinese economy has the good fundamentals. Now, leaders from China's economic sectors have briefed media about China's development agenda for 2025 during a news conference held by the National People's Congress.
The projected GDP growth target of around 5% for this year was prudently set by the Party Central Committee and the State Council after a comprehensive evaluation, scientific verification, and systematic balancing. At the implementation level, we have also made solid and thorough preparations to achieve this target.
And Chairman Zhang said China is fully confident in achieving its economic growth target due to a solid foundation, support, and guarantees. On foreign trade, China's Commerce Minister has responded to the trade war with the U.S., saying China-U.S. ties should be mutually beneficial.
贸易战没有赢家。
A trade war has no winners and protectionism leads nowhere. The unilateral policies and bullying practices of the U.S. are against the trend of the times, causing widespread concern and opposition from the international community. China is firm in its resolve to safeguard its interests. In response to the unilateral tariffs imposed by the U.S., we have taken necessary countermeasures in accordance with the fundamental principles of international law and relevant laws and regulations. If the U.S. goes further down this wrong path, we will continue to respond in time.
And CGTN's Sean Caleb spoke with NPC Deputy Dong Mingzhu. Dong is also chairwoman of Gree Electric Appliances, a household brand name here in China. She tells us what it will take to ensure the success of China's efforts to boost consumption and take the lead in intelligent manufacturing.
It's been amazing reading about the success of the company and your success at the same time, and it puts you in a very significant place right now in China's history as the push for more internal consumption from the top down goes. And you have a better understanding of that than probably anyone. And if you couple with that the fact that you've been a tireless fighter trying to improve tax benefits for the middle class so they can afford these items, talk about that and how important this consumption is going to be to China going forward. And is the consumer confidence there?
We cannot deny that in the past 2 years, especially since 2023, after the problems in the real estate sector surfaced, they've brought certain related challenges. To address these difficulties, the government has introduced more policies to stimulate market demand in the home appliance industry. For us, while we appreciate policy support, we believe we should not rely on it. Instead, it is more meaningful to develop better products that enhance consumers' quality of life.
Last year, the focus was on higher innovation, better manufacturing. Do you think you have seen that in China? And really, your company has been a leader of that, starting out air conditioners, refrigerators, and now so much innovation, and I believe more than 1,000 patents your company holds?
The transition from made in China to intelligent manufacturing in China is driven by advancements in big data, the internet, and smart technologies. This transition has taken traditional manufacturing to a new stage. We believe that both efficiency and product quality have undergone fundamental changes.
How important it is to make the consumer feel confident that the economy is going to be secure and safe moving forward, going to continue to grow at the rate that it has.
First, consumer confidence comes from having more job opportunities and higher incomes, which will gradually restore their sense of security. As a Chinese company, we strive to create as many job opportunities as possible for young people. Second, in the process of providing employment, we focus on cultivating their ability to think in a smart and digital way, integrating internet-based thinking rather than relying solely on manual labor.
There's also, globally, there was this perception that Chinese products were inferior. Talk about the effort to change that and how that really has transformed the leaders.
Why were our products poorly made in the past? First, our understanding at that time was limited. Second, in the early stages, businesses were more focused on profiting. But today, business growth is no longer just about value, it's driven by a vision. Companies now aspire to improve people's lives, which is why today's products are much better than before. 10 years ago, no one would have said that Chinese air conditioners were the best. But today, if you travel to many countries, you will see that Chinese air conditioners are recognized as the best. For Gree, integrity has always been our foundation. I have a saying, the parts of a product that consumers can't see should be made to the highest standard.
Well, of the more than 3,000 members of the press covering the two sessions, about a third are foreign journalists. They've been taking note of China's economic priorities for the coming year.
Serbia, we have a huge expectation from a free trade agreement which was signed 2023 and which came into power during the last year. That agreement allows, for example, fresh fruits, vegetable and pharmaceutical products to be exported to China duty-free gradually. Even small export quantities for Chinese market can make a significant difference for Serbia, especially for Serbian farmers. Following the huge success of the Deep Sea program, this information is expected to attract significant attention from AI developers worldwide, including one in Serbia.
Thailand is actually ready to welcome more foreign investment into the country. And recently, the Thai government claims that China is ready to increase investments into Thailand, especially in green technology, digital economy, and healthcare. And both countries also agreed to expand many other cooperations through free trade agreements, the Mekong Lanchang Cooperation Framework, and the two countries have previously signed a number of agreements as well, which also covers AI cooperation, digital economy, technology, and also high-quality trade and investment.
The key points of interest are for China to be perceived as a partner who's going to be looking for its objectives or targets, but that those objectives are not going to be against the culture of Spain or the European culture, and it's not going to be detrimental to family and consumption in Spain. Now, companies, even individual investors, see China as the land of opportunity.
One of the greatest things that Kenyans would want to learn in terms of engagement with China would be majorly about technology. Why technology? Technology because at the point where Kenya sits, we are considered to be one of the greatest countries in the region pretty much. When it comes to matters development, our ICT sector is growing its fast. We have one of the fastest internet in the region. We see that this is an area of collaboration that could really benefit the country.
All right, let's get back to our conversations here in the studio with our guests here. Mr. Wang, I want to take this opportunity and also talk about the factors of pressure, because like you said at the start of the interview, China is setting all of these development goals against an international backdrop that's as sophisticated as ever, as fluid as ever, as unpredictable as ever. China is looking at potential trade frictions with the United States. How will all of these external factors weigh on China's economic performance this year?
Well, I think you actually take this on both sides. Every coin has both sides. I think on the one hand, it does give us the challenges, obstacles, barriers, but on the other hand, it provides opportunities. For example, let's talk about this AI. There's a chips, high fence, small yard, and but that stimulates the Chinese to be more innovative. Huawei produced 5G phones right on the U.S. Commerce Secretary visit to China. And China's DeepSeek was also rolled out on the inauguration day of President Trump. So it actually shows that China can overcome obstacles and then trying to be more innovative. On the other hand, I think China's strategy to combat this trade war is not by closing the doors up or raise tariff everywhere. We raised certain tariff, like U.S. has raised 20%, 10 plus 10 on all categories. China chose first categories on 80 category product, and next was about 20. So about 100 categories, not all categories. So it's quite reserved. But moreover, China is open. China lifted tariff for 43 least developing countries. Zero tariff come to China. While U.S. is raising tariff, China has reduced tariff to zero. And China's trade with African countries has come up. China now is trading more with ASEAN. ASEAN is China's largest trading partner. China trading with Belt and Road countries, many others. So I think this is a better way to do that.
Hold that thought, Mr. Wang. Let's get this latest development to our viewers out there. We just got word that the National People's Congress has adopted a resolution to approve this year's government work report, which was delivered by Premier Li Qiang last Wednesday. NPC deputies are also voting on other state affairs as they conclude their annual gathering. We'll keep you updated on all of that. Make sure you stay with us right here on CGTN. My apologies for cutting you short, Mr. Wang. Please go ahead.
Okay, absolutely. So what I'm saying basically is that in addition, in the contrast that we are engaged, fully in the trade war, we actually find another path now. We be more, we can trade more with the rest of the world. We trade more with Belt and Road countries. We trade more with ASEAN. We trade more with, all the other developing countries. We're new BRICS countries. So you see, there's an enormous potential. I think the policy for U.S. is self-defeating. It's actually isolate yourself. In the long run, you're going to be, U.S. is probably going to be isolated. If they raise tariff on Canada, Mexico, EU, and rest of the world, the rest of the world will combine together and trade more with China. China is already the largest trading partner with 140 countries. So I think we can really be really confident. We have more experience handling the trade war than the previous 7-8 years ago. We have much more tool now in our toolbox, and China's economy is resilient, and we have gone through COVID and everything now. But of course, this openness China sticks to, this welcome for investment, this encouraging private enterprises, but furthermore, lifting the tariff for more countries, lifting the visa unilaterally for another 30, 40 countries, enormous. I hope we can raise, give free visa to US, Canada, UK. Let's be more open continuously. And then we can get a better outcome of that.
And having heard Mr. Wang's views on trade, I want to get your thoughts on this, Mr. Dannett, because European companies are still investing heavily in China. They're looking at improved business environment. Now, what areas do European companies prioritize when it comes to laws, regulations, as well as perhaps institutions?
Well, there was the foreign investment law that was promulgated approximately 2 years ago. So that sent a boost of encouragement to the foreign business community about ensuring level playing field. We hear this term national treatment a lot. And to be frank, that is still an issue and concern for a lot of our members. We were talking earlier about the mixed economy in China. And what I find interesting is when I read these high-level documents, whether it's the 14th or soon to be 15th year 5-year plan or the work report, when it talks about the business environment, it always talks about state-owned enterprises first, the private sector, and then it talks about foreign companies. And the order of that I take note of. It's the socialist market economy here with social public enterprises first. And finding that balance is really important because you were just talking about DeepSeek and President Xi Jinping's meeting with the private business community. I mean, I think it shows that the real innovators in the world, in China and elsewhere, has always come from the private sector. So being able to leverage that resource is really, really important. Obviously, you need to find a balance along with the economic and governance model of each country and all of the security concerns. But I think, it's easy to talk about and say we're going to focus on all these different important areas of the economy, but finding that balance, that's the real difficult decision and question. So more about foreign businesses here. Yeah, they focus on what's being said. They focus on the implementation, as I talked about earlier, and I think they look at what's going to be coming up in the future. They look at it based on what market opportunities they're going to be for them.
All right, gentlemen, do bear with us here on our special coverage. Let's get another update on the official proceedings this afternoon. The National People's Congress has just voted to adopt the revised law on deputies to the National People's Congress and to the local People's Congresses at various levels. Also just now, lawmakers have approved the report on the implementation of the 2024 plan for national economic and social development, as well as a draft plan for this year. Do stay with us. We'll keep you updated on all of the developments this afternoon. Mr. Wang, now from external pressure points to domestic sore points, I do want to mention consumption, which is a weak link in China's economy at this point. Of course, the government is rolling out all of the bonds trading programs to help drive up consumer demand. What are some of the viable solutions, particularly this year, in addressing this problem alone?
Well, I certainly think that this government stimulus package is still very useful and needs to be strengthened. And I think compared with China still has a lot of room to do that. And second, I think the government emphasized on the new high-quality productive forces. It's not people gradually had a grasp of that. When the beginning was saying that, what's that? They don't understand what's this, not really well understood probably. But now I see, with this AI, for example, this DeepSeek. I was reading the Beijing Daily the other day. A number of hospitals in Beijing now has all installed the DeepSeek, have adopted the AI models. I was actually went to the Union Hospital to just for ordinary check, and then the doctors are taking all my data into the computer now. I think he probably going to analyze by himself, but I'm sure there must be a AI mechanism somewhere to calculate all the data to give him some references. So you see that has been revolutionized the China, and then that was really a big, popularity of making people aware of this readily available tool. Even my kids now using this to check, making some assignment now. So you can see that is a fastly streaming channel. So I think there's going to generate a lot of new sectors, new applications, and new job opportunity. Furthermore, with this AI, China is the largest AI talent produced country in the world. And 30–40% of AI talent in the US are from China. So with this, we can see what Mr. Liang can do, in Hangzhou. Why can't we, there's a golden opportunity now in China for startup business, and then all the people, talents wants to come back. So you're going to see another wave of returning talent coming back now. So finally, I think there's still room. You have 300 million migrant workers in the cities. How to really make them travel less? Have the permanent house at the city, so they have a confidence to consume more, or maybe allow them to really sell some of their household land, or maybe rent it out. Third Plan has already allowed them to rent it out, but I think may give them some ownership to sell that at some premium, so they can afford the down payment in the cities. If that applied to 100 million migrant workers who already had a fixed job, social security at home, at cities, China would have another boom for real estate. I think Madame Dong Minzhu was talking about real estate, slowing down. But if we have that policy, real estate can continue for another 5–10 years.
What do you look at? How do you look at the economic factors here in China in further growth? For example, this continued stress on innovation. Are these young homegrown talent and the advancement of science and technology tipped to become the main driver of China's economy?
Well, first on talents, I think for talents there's both a demand and supply side. I think on the supply side, China's got a very strong education system. As you were saying earlier, millions of graduates coming out with engineering, STEM degrees here in China, not necessarily finding jobs that they're needed despite a shrinking labor force. But then on the demand side, there just isn't that need that there was before. So we need to look very carefully about the matching between supply and demand. And I think internship programs, trade schools, vocational schools are really helpful. And again, this is an area where I think education services is something that's also been highlighted in recent policy documents, where there's going to be more opening. And I'm hoping that European companies and institutions can cooperate with China on education and vocational services there as well. And on innovation, really, as I was trying to allude to earlier about the importance of the private sector really driving innovation, they take risk. When you make an investment, you take a risk, and you hope there's going to be a profit there at the end of the day eventually, and you need the predictability and the transparency and the level playing field. Those are all factors in that. I think what the government can do is, again, it's that balancing act between security and incentivizing people to take that risk. I think the work report shows, for example, that they're going to be putting more funding towards basic research. I think that's very good. China's already demonstrated it's extremely good in commercializing technology. So ensuring that the regulatory environment gives space to companies to feel that they can take that risk, while at the same time being compliant with China's increasingly demanding regulations for compliance, which are there for good reasons, is going to be one way to incentivize companies to invest more.
Mr. Wang, I think you had a great point just now talking about how while AI might replace some conventional jobs, it's almost certain that AI will also create new sectors and new jobs, new opportunities here. But China has a plan to create over 12 million urban jobs and keep the urban surveyed unemployment rate at 5.5%. Where in the Chinese economy, what sectors could China find this space to create that amount of jobs?
Well, I think there's quite a number of areas. For example, you have now with this AI, plus, we have the Internet plus, now we have AI plus. So that's going to generate a lot of new sectors. I can see, people a lot of people actually into this kind of auto, manufacturing and all those things. So there's more designers, more, highly skilled talent needed. But on the other hand, I still think that these 300 million migrant workers are enormous consumers. They haven't really been doing much in terms of if they are really have a fixed home in the cities and have hukou, they're going to have more education needs. They're going to have more hospitals. They're going to have more needs. And also we have, have 300 million people above 60 years old now. China's aging too, and then we need a lot of nursing and taking health care. Health care would be a big industry in China. That would generate a lot of opportunity. Education still, I think, and China plays so much attention on education. And then just Adam was saying, now education now is coming back with some, industry was dampened for a while, but now it's revived again. So that created a lot of jobs as well. So, but I still think the service sector, U.S. and the European countries, 80% services. China is only 50-60. So we still have another 20-30% to grow. So service sector is enormous opportunities. And of course, on top of that, made in China now, made in the world is totally open for foreign manufacturing. Hope to attract more foreign manufacturing come to China, and then that would be another opportunity. So I would think, with this health, education, healthcare, and manufacturing, AI, you name it. And then the country is more colorful now. There's more freelancing. There's more IPs making. There's more streamlining. There's so many new opportunities. And then just think about the query. Think about the deliverable. There's 30, 40 million people delivering on a daily basis. That's created in China. You don't see any other country has it. So there's many ways to create these new jobs.
All right, gentlemen, do stay with us. We'll be right back with you. And here's what's just into CGTN. Now for the latest from the NPC closing meeting. Lawmakers have just approved the report on the execution of the central and local budgets for 2024, as well as the budgets for this year. Also just in, NPC deputies have just adopted a resolution on the work report of the NPC Standing Committee. Deputies have also passed a resolution on the work report of the Supreme People's Court.
Yeah, and now why don't we hear some more views from our guests here, because I really want to circle back to one previous discussion where we touched upon spending. You mentioned about the sluggish consumer spending, and it's natural that when people don't feel economically safe, they would rather save than spending. So what are some of the incentive, because we did see in the past measures and initiatives put in place to try to boost consumer confidence, but then there's volatility in the stock market, crisis in the real estate sector, and youth unemployment. So what do you think are some of the important incentives to promote people's spending power and their willingness to spend?
Well, if you look at the history of China, we opened up for 46 years old. Every decade before, there's a big revolutionary policy breakthrough that totally changed China. In the 80s, we contract land to the farmers. That would change us from planned economy to a market economy, from an economy of shortage to an economy of abundance. That's just one policy. And in the 90s, Chinese government said, okay, all urban residents, you got your apartment with minimum cost, symbolic cost, and almost free. So every resident in the city have a flat or signed by the government and then privatized on that. And that created 400 million middle class. So that's the policy in the 90s. And in the year 2000, let's say, oh, China joined the WTO because of, there's only a handful of companies monopolize the trade. Now 6 million companies in China can do trade now. So that quickly make China the largest trading countries with 140 countries. China become really, from development to from stronger to its current day. And I think these past 10, 15 years, we need such kind of a new revolutionary policy to stimulate the consumptions. And again, we have to work on these 300 million migrant workers. We don't really should allow them to travel. Like during the Chinese New Year, you believe 9 billion people traveled around, or 90 billion people traveled, 9 billion people traveled around across China because they go back to see their parents and children. Why can't we bring
Mr.
their
Wang,
parents?
let me just leave you there because Zhong Shi is going to update us on the latest there.
And here's what we know. NPC deputies have just adopted a resolution on the work report of the Supreme People's Procuratorate.
Fellow deputies, the third session of the 14th NPC has completed all the items on the agenda. The meeting fully practiced democracy and also practiced our work in accordance with the law. We identified our goals and tasks and also convey the confidence and strengths. It is a meeting of delivering real results through solid work and forging ahead in unity. During the session, the deputies have shouldered the great trust of the party and the people, performed their duty in accordance with the Constitution and the law, and also carefully carry out the key plans of the party and the country, and also to feed back to people's hope and expectations. And it is a very productive meeting and also fully reflect the democracy. The meeting fully demonstrates that the unity of the party's proposition and the people's will, and also demonstrate the advantages of the people's democracy and also the system of the National People's Congress. This year marks the final year of the 14th five-year plan. We have a lot of tasks on the agenda. Therefore, we should, under the strong leadership of the CPC Central Committee with Comrade Xi Jinping at its core, follow the guidance of Xi Jinping's thought on socialism with Chinese characteristics for a new era, fully implement the 20th National Party Congress and the second, third plenary session of the Party Central Committee, and also to follow the key principle of the pursuing progress while ensuring stability and implement the key decisions of the session. We should also further to make our decisions and also be determined to carry out our goal and also to fulfill the tasks and goals set for the 14th five-year in order to set the next period to a good start.
We must put people in the center, honor people's spirit in innovation, and practice the whole process people's democracy, and consolidate people's wisdom and power. We need to put people in the first place for everything we do, and constantly meet people's aspiration for better lives. We must always remember the blueprint that we draw for a strong socialist country and be committed to socialist path of development. We concentrated on our own endeavors and take one solid step after another in implementing and translating the great strategies and policies into reality. Dear deputies, with unity comes strength, and with perseverance, we can write history and open a new, brighter future. Let us unite firmly under the CPC Central Committee with Comrade Xi Jinping at its core, forge ahead with perseverance and diligence, and make even greater contribution to socialist Chinese modernization and to write a new chapter of rejuvenation of the Chinese nation. Deputies, the third session of the 14th NPC has completed all the items on the agenda. Please all rise for the national anthem of China. Now I declare the third session of the 14th NPC of the People's Republic of China concludes.
They are another powerful vow to push for Chinese modernization as the NPC annual session draws to a close here. I do believe we have a little bit more time with our guests here in the studio. Gentlemen, instead of having you talk about what impressed you again this year, I think there's one key topic that we left out just now about new quality productive forces. When this concept was first brought up last year, people struggled to understand what this concept entails. Now, a year later, Mr. Dennett, I believe people, including foreigners here in the country, have a better understanding of what new quality productive forces mean for the Chinese economy. Can you share with us what this term means for you and for European businesses?
Well, maybe somebody will correct me on this, but I think this is more of a slogan basically for innovation, right? I mean, in China, you've got a shrinking labor force. And you've got already huge investment, you've got a huge asset build up in China already. So the only way to maintain the existing level of GDP and to grow it further is through what's called, in economists speak, total productivity, which is another term for innovation. So what we need to do is we need to leverage the capacity of talents that we have, the existing infrastructure that we can continue to build on through AI, that's included as well, so that can add something. And to generate the two together, we need to come out with an overall, 1 + 1 is greater than 2 type scenario. And that's what new quality productive forces, in my opinion, aims to achieve. And I think we have touched upon it already earlier. It's about creating the right environment for companies to be able to take risks and see rewards. I mean, the last thing you want to see happen is having companies invest in products and in buildings and in technologies that at the end of the day aren't going to deliver a product or a service that's needed by individuals that are going to consume these products. I mean, we've heard of stories of products. E-vehicles has both been a huge opportunity and a huge risk for China, right? We want to make sure that the things that are being produced here at the end of the day eventually are finding a market for themselves. And again, bring it back to a new quality of productive forces, whether it's the e-vehicle industry or the dishwasher or the air conditioner industry that you were talking about earlier that's been so successful. You want to make sure at the end of the day, these investments and interests are aligned with what the market and consumers demand.
And earlier on in our conversation, Mr. Wang talked about these access to social safety net, education,
Yes.
elderly care, and so on and so forth. And it's interesting to see that during this year's two sessions, China's top economic planner, the NDRC, the Minister of Finance, Minister of Commerce, as well as the central bank governor, they talked about how authorities are formulating macroeconomic policies guided towards improving people's livelihoods. How do you look at this new emphasis on people's livelihoods, integrating these plans into the economic policies?
Yes, actually, just to continue my talk just now, I think that the next gold mine, the next boom opportunity is really to how to tap this urbanization of these 300 million migrant workers, but particularly the hukou system. I think after the third plenum, they actually allowed the people to move in to the 5 million, 3 million size cities free now for rural population. But I think you could still, get into a bigger cities. Mm-hmm. For example, Seoul has 30 million, Tokyo has 30, 40 million. So this bigger metropolitan is actually more productive. So we talk about productive forces. Doesn't just mean high tech. Means we are going from high growth to high quality. High quality means that you have, how to make high quality of urbanization, high quality of manufacturing, and high quality with AI aid, production. So those are all high quality productive forces. So I think, as we mentioned, livelihood and consumption is so much related. I think first we have to boost the confidence. I mean, now we had achieved some of that. Now these two sections has boosted the confidence of private sector, business, and population in general. So now they are more confident, they can spend a bit more. But on the other hand, we need to make the pocket thicker, have a bit more income. So for that, I really think how we unleash these 300 million migrant workers, their consumptions make. Premier Lee said at Davos last year, we're going to have 400 million middle class now. Next decade, we're going to have 800 million. Where does the other 400 million comes from? Let's get these 300 million migrant workers, abolish the hukou system and let them move freely. The mobility will generate another gold opportunity for China. So I think there's many areas we can deepen the reform and deepen open up.
Repeated calls for more inclusive growth. Thank you for your thoughts on this.
And our correspondent Sean Calebs and Daniel Aronboy have been reporting on this year's two sessions that are here to share their perspectives.
Well, here in the Great Hall of the People, I'm Sean Calebs from CGTN in Washington, D.C.
And I'm Daniel Aronboy from CGTN Africa Bureau, Nairobi.
And it's interesting, I think, from our perspective, covering something like this. I can speak from the North American perspective. Obviously, what goes on there is going to have a ripple effect throughout China, throughout the global economy. Two sessions really spelled out a blueprint for how China wants to move forward. Now, from an economic standpoint, China has a lot covered. They know what they want to do internally, but these external pressures, tariffs, isolationism, that's the wild card, and that could have a big impact not only on China, but, Daniel, on the global economy as well.
Yes, from my perspective as an African and from the African Bureau, I think ours is more of a strengthening our relationship with China, improving our trade relations, diplomatic relations with China, and then promoting Africa's growth through job creation, employment opportunities for our young people, innovation, technology. If we could work together with China to bring this to Africa, it will go a long way in helping us solve the huge unemployment gap that we still have in Africa. Sean.
Transformation, innovation,
sustainable development,
consumption,
investment,
and foreign policy.
People's livelihoods top the agenda
as lawmakers and political advisors
gather in Beijing.
The two sessions bring together China's top legislative body
and top political advisory body
as delegates and members discuss the country's
biggest priorities and plans.
What's China's growth targets?
In how motions and proposals are addressed.
Follow CGTN's coverage of the annual political season.
A key moment that shapes the country's future.
Welcome back to our special coverage. Earlier, the closing ceremony wrapped up the proceedings at this year's two sessions. And later on, ministers will be taking questions from the press. And now let's check in the latest with our reporter, Zhou Jiaxin from the scene. Well, Jiaxin, government ministers will be meeting the press and at the ministers' corridor in just a moment away. Do we know who will be speaking? Give us a preview, please.
Okay, my mom. The last, also the third group of the ministers are coming to the corridor and taking questions from media as the two sessions just concluded. We know that this year the policymakers would also touch upon the natural resources, also the culture and tourism aspects, and also the sports. So we're expecting those ministers coming to the center stage to address those issues. And regarding the natural resources, of course, one of the most important topic that the government work report of the 2025 also underscored is the total area of China's farmland, which is requested to be remaining over the specified red line, and to make sure that will be secured, and China will strictly exercise the management over the process of offsetting the cultivated land, and that has been put to other uses. And of course, the practice will and the measures will also go to promote the restoration of those arable land. And some major projects will also be pushed to make sure that the key ecosystem will be restored at the same time. And of course, the culture and tourism department will try to make sure that the new policies or measures would secure the country's high quality development, also to boost the country's domestic economy and of course the consumption driven economy. But I just wanted to share one of the data of this kind of domestic tourism is that it is not only just try to drive the economy, but also increase the opportunities for the exchanges between China and the rest of the world, because the China travel has become a really buzzword among those online vloggers who visit China in the wake of China's travel visa travel policies, because the number of those foreign tourists in 2024 alone reached 11 million, which is really impressive, and that is an increase of almost 120% year on year. And it is also a demonstration of China's determination to make sure that the gateway is opening up, and also it's also attraction for is a good way to drive the country's economy. And also, we know that it is also a major effort for China to increase those exchanges. But I also previously talked to the officials with the National Immigration Administration, who said that many foreigners felt a very different China from those information they get, and this is also a chance for the culture and tourism to try to make sure that it is facilitating more and more foreigners coming to China. And of course, the ministers will come to the center stage and address those issues with the media, and we're waiting for that.
Jiaxin, thank you so much for the update.
China's diplomacy is highly focused on during the two sessions. Let's also check in with our correspondent, Jen Copestake. Jen, you've been covering the two sessions from a European perspective, and what are your takeaways on China-Europe relations?
Yes, that's right. I take away a very positive picture of the relationship between China and Europe going forward. And now that's particularly because during the foreign ministers' press conference, Wang Yi highlighted that this is a very important year between China and the EU. It represents 50 years of the official diplomatic relations between China and the EU. And he said that any kind of disputes and commercial tensions he believes could be resolved between China and the EU going forward. That includes a question that he received about tariffs on Chinese-made electric vehicles in Europe. He said that the bilateral trade between China and the EU has been expanded in the last 5 decades from 2.4 billion to 780 billion. So he said that this is a really important relationship and that they can work things out through friendly consultation, he's sure, with wisdom and perseverance in the years ahead. He said that jointly China and the EU make up 1/3 of the world's global economy. So there is a great strategic value in having a healthy relationship between China and the EU, and that will lift up other countries in the world, make a brighter world, and is looking forward to a further 50 years of positive relations. So a very positive message from the 2 sessions on China and Europe.
Jen, we appreciate those perspectives from you. Thank you so much for joining us this hour. And earlier, I spoke with Dr. Urs Lustenberger, president of Swiss Cham Asia and a professor at Singularity Academy, an innovative educational institute in Switzerland. Lustenberger says his biggest takeaway from the 2 sessions is that China is providing the world with stability and confidence.
I see a lot of confidence. Confidence that its economy, through the technological innovation and the high-tech sectors, has really taken on another level. China could start to measure its success just simply by its technological advances. And here, I think it has made leaps and bounds in recent years. When I see DeepSeek, when I see also the recent focus on private industries in China, then I see possibilities that China could easily do another leap forward. And then the measurement of GDP almost becomes outdated, and we should measure gross domestic innovation or gross domestic technology. China's growth and its stability are a big determinant of what I would consider world's prosperity and stability. As we have seen, other big powers in the world are currently in some difficulties, I would say. Russia, which one has to consider as a big power, is embroiled in this war. Europe has been sliding into oblivion over the years, and the USA is going through a major shakeup where we all do not fully understand where it is going. And this uncertainty makes it all the more important that the other world power, China, is at least exuding confidence and a certain calm and a very certain stability. And in that respect, China seems to become a more and more important anchor, not only in the Asian space, but I think on the world stage. And that, for me, are the major takeaways of the 2 sessions.
Chinese Foreign Minister Wang Yi answered questions from the media during the 2 sessions. Addressing hundreds of international journalists closely following China-U.S. relations, Wang warned against a world ruled by the law of the jungle. CGTN's Zhao Yunfei explains how the world's 2 largest economies find common ground.
U.S. President Donald Trump announced his plans to take over and own Gaza.
The American Secretary of State made his first trip to Latin America last month and threatened to take measures against Panama.
How differently will China engage with the Trump administration over the next 4 years?
It could be one of the most informative press briefings held at China's 2 sessions annual political event, with more than 500 international journalists in attendance.
Should everyone stress my country first and obsess over a position of strength, the law of jungle would reign the world again.
Foreign Foreign Minister Wang answered 23 questions, and among them, 9 questions mentioned the United States, whether it's about Trump administration or its protectionism policy. So yes, this is a press conference about China's diplomacy, but it's also a press conference about how to maintain a healthy China-US ties. But why the United States?
About 2 months ago, the United States ambassador in Zimbabwe came out of Norway to attack Chinese enterprises in Zimbabwe. So we are used to this.
The United States are putting a lot of pressure on our region, on the Latin America region.
And we understand that this is a very relevant issue. The China-US relationship will always affect the rest of the world.
Since President Donald Trump returned to the White House in January, his administration has taken an American-first approach, threatening a new round of trade wars against multiple countries, including Canada, Mexico, and the European Union. New tariffs of 10% were imposed on Chinese goods in early March, the U.S. says, over the country's fentanyl crisis. The consequence, U.S. stock markets tumbled amid the mounting concerns and uncertainty.
The United States should go over what has actually happened. What has it achieved from tariff and trade wars these years? Has its trade deficit widened or narrowed? Has its manufacture become more competitive or less competitive? Has U.S. inflation gone up or down? Has the life of its people got better or worse?
Beijing accused Washington of taking a two-faced approach, seeking good relations with China while suppressing its development. Such tactics are similar when it comes to the Ukraine crisis.
You don't have the cards right now.
Washington opted to reach a deal with Kyiv, but ignore the security guarantees that Ukraine demanded. China's stance on the crisis has been objective.
Security should be mutual and equal, and no country should build its security on the insecurity of another.
Since the beginning of the crisis, China has been advocating settlement through dialogue, while the U.S. fueled the conflict by providing weapons to Ukraine. In late February, the United Nations Security Council, with China presiding, adopted a U.S. draft resolution calling for a swift end to the Russia-Ukraine conflict. China and the U.S. could reach an agreement when it comes to peaceful development.
China and U.S. is the major power in the world right now, especially the economic growth.
I'm looking at how China, US can bridge their differences. Where we are not competing with each other, but saying, how do we build the world together?
Globalization is an irreversible trend. Foreign Minister Wang mentioned the Global South in 8 responses to journalists' questions.
It is very important for...
We interrupt our programming to bring you live to the Minister's Corridor.
Good afternoon. The third session of the 14th National People's Congress. Now we start the third Minister's Corridor. And today we invite 3 ministers to the corridor to answer some of your interesting questions. They are Minister of Natural Resources, Minister Guan Zhiou, Minister of Culture and Tourism, Sun Yeli, and the Director of General Administration of Sports, Gao Zhidan. Now let's welcome the First Minister to the corridor. Now the floor is open to questions. Thank you. People's Daily. Good afternoon, Mr. Guan. In the government work report, we talk about we should safeguard that the arrow land right line. What measures the Ministry of Natural Resources will take to maintain that arrow line above the right line? Thank you very much for your question. And this is a very important question because our land related to the national's development and also people's well-being. Since the 18th National Congress, we safeguard the 1.8 billion mu of the arable land, supporting the development of the food security. And also this government report and also the #1 document also identified the tasks in this regard, especially the quantity and quality and ecological conservation related in this regard. We need to do the 3 things. First, we should maintain the quantity. And we should target our plan to the number identified in the plans, make sure that we also manage the arable land in one map. And also based on that one map, we also to develop the arable land and to a more intelligent development, so we could get a full picture of all the arable land. And we also need to understand that the spatial relocation, and also make sure that if the land is used for non-agricultural purpose, we also need to identify the exact number for that compensation, and also make sure that there's no cheating happened in this process. And in terms of that spatial allocation, we should base on that the survey and analysis. And we need to, first of all, overhaul the existing arable land, make sure that we have that the targeted plan for the each mu of the arable land, make sure that they plant that suitable products, and also need to further increase the proportion of quality land. And for the Chernobyl land, we need to have a better protection, make sure that they could be the best land for use. And talking about these ecological conservation, we need to think about that we should be a systematic management of the resources. And we should find the water in order to lock the land, and also if that the available natural resources nearby, we need to think about how to better leverage that kind of the resources to the best effect and usage. By doing so, we would like to create that beautiful landscape so people could enjoy that beautiful landscape and also recall their childhood memory. I believe they could be a new fashion for the people. For some wrongdoing, especially impact people's well-being and also damage the natural resources and ecology, we should also punish these kind of activities in order to protect people's rights. And we know that this is actually a hard job to do, and we also need to take the toughest measure to protect our arable land. And also for the whole society, we also need to keep our awareness of that this arable land is very valuable, and we need to make sure that for each and every mu of the land they use for their best purpose. And we should need to ensure that all these arable land evolve at the right line and make sure that the football is safely held in our hands. Thank you.
Next question, please. Thank you. I'm with Wen Huibao. This year we are going to make important breakthroughs regarding the Three North shadow belt, and can you tell us the latest progress in this regard? Thank you for your question. The Three North shadow belt program is a national initiative, and it's a milestone of China's ecological efforts. In 2013, when President Xi Jinping was visiting Bayan of Inner Mongolia, he called for all the Chinese to create even a greater miracle in shadow belt. Over the years, thanks to the unified leadership from the central government, government agencies at different levels, and the state-owned enterprises as well as the private sector have worked together to finish an area of 720,000 in the northwestern part of the country. We have initiated a number of key programs which are well underway, and in the Kachin Desert, the Gobi Desert is being turned back into grassland. In Kubuchi, we have delivered a grass belt that is 400 kilometers long. We have solar power and solar power panels which are reflecting the landscape of the desert the second largest landscape of the whole world, is now blessed with the green belt, laying the groundwork for systemic solutions going forward. The Three Norths Shadow Belt program in the new era pays more attention to innovation in governance models, and we pay even closer attention to the integration of social and economic benefits. We're using solar power to facilitate our desertification efforts. We also built more roads to counteract the belt, counteract the desert. In so doing, we're also yielding benefits to the local residents. We have issued a total of 150 million yuan worth of subsidy, which mobilized 200,000 people to get engaged in the desertification efforts. We also pay more attention to international exchange and cooperation. In so doing, we are contributing Chinese wisdom and Chinese solutions to the global efforts of desertification. At the end of last year, at the High Contracting Parties Conference in Saudi Arabia regarding desertification, we presented China's efforts and practice, which won great recognition from the international community. A number of new solutions, for example, desertification through road building and green belt, have won high recognition from the whole world. Entering spring, we have deployed more task forces to the front line. In the new era, we will remember the important instruction of General Secretary, act in a spirit of the Three Norths Shadow Belt, defy all the odds, and make sure that every tree that we plant can grow into big trees, so as to make sure that we can make meaningful and milestone breakthroughs regarding the Three Norths Shadow Belt. And tomorrow, we're going to celebrate the 47th tree planting day. I sincerely welcome each and every one of you to get engaged in the Three Norths Shadow Belt activity. Let's reinforce the ecological barrier in China's north and tell the story of man-nature harmony. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Let's welcome the second minister, Minister of Culture and Tourism, Mr. Sun Yeli. Good afternoon. Now the floor is open to questions. With CMG, a question to Mr. Sun. In the past year, people has highly interested in participating in the tourism and the cultural activities. But for different companies, different regions feel the different heat of that wave. And some companies, they got a lot of benefits from it. But some people or companies saying that you could see this is a big wave, but we could really make a little from that. So what's your view on this? Thank you for your question. First of all, I'd like to take this opportunity for journalists for your support and participate in the cultural and the tourist activities. Yes, indeed, as you said, that the wave, that the heat wave of the cultural and the tourist activities actually have been continued. You could see above the designated size, the companies and industries in this regard realize that 14 trillion RMB revenue and a 6% increase year by year. And we have 310,000 registered companies in this regard, 7% increase in this regard as well. You could see this show a very strong growth momentum. The scale of the tourist industry, last year we have seen that the 1.6 billion people traveled, spending 570 billion RMB. And in terms of inbound tourism, we have received 132 million people coming to China for tourism. they spent around, that's around 90 billion or the US dollars, almost to 100 billion. Of course, the number only reflect one side of the picture. Talk about our own observation experience, especially during that holidays. The ODA destination, tourism destination, said that we actually, all the people in the country came to our site. You could see the museum, the big concerts. It's really hard to get a ticket. And we talk about night schools. And also people said it's really hard to make a reservation. So you could see that the income, revenue actually is increased. And more people actually practice or involved in the activities. And also for the profit margin actually is around 9%. That's quite the awesome result. For the A-level scenic spots and for the A resort, and also the revenue for the tourist agencies actually all have seen that big increase. And the increase rate above at least 10%. Yes, indeed, as you said, for the companies in different regions, they feel the different level of heat. And also some companies in this regard also face some difficulties in operation. We also look into details in this regard. You could talk about China enjoys a vast market with a large number of entities. For each year, of course, there could be some enterprises. They did not survive and also withdrew from the market. For the culture and tourism industry, we could talk about the reason behind all this phenomenon. I believe could be that the consumption upgrading cause a diversity in this market. So that's also the different performance of different companies. We could see that people actually have a higher requirement needs of the cultural and tourist products. People previously they spend a lot on food, but right now they spend a lot on service. People before they pay a lot of attention on value, but right now people pay more attention about that, the aesthetic and emotional value. So people right now actually believe that I spent money. Of course, first I have that kind of a need. And then that's also for my passion. I love it. I would like to spend money on it. This is how that people consumption behavior change. So this is the background that people upgrade their consumption on culture and tourism. So for the companies, they get in line with this trend, they could make that benefit from it. So you could see that the museum actually, they had a very good product. Actually, a lot of people really love that because that's the magnet badge, so that's the for the freight. So people actually could see they got up in the very early morning, they line up in front of the National Museum, and also more than 800,000 of that magnet sold last year. So it tells the truth that as long as you have that right product, then you could make profit from that. In Yunnan province, right now you could see that they also have a program that inviting people stay a longer period in Yunnan. They not just want people to spend one more night. They would like the tourists to spend a season there, or at least a quarter time period there. So last year we could see 3.89 million people spent at least 80 days there. So we talk about that 4 million people with 80-day stay there, they could spend that 40 to 50 billion RMB there. So that could be also a big booster to drive the local consumption market. And also we could see that is also some new products empowered by technologies. So we talk about immersive experience, we talk about performance with this immersive technology. They invest a little, but they gain a buck from that. And also for each year, this kind of performance is more than 1,000 times. And this year we have to mention that Ne Zha 2, of course, right now, that's almost to that 15 million ticket box. So we talk about as long as you have the good that the products that you could always have that meet people's need. So you need to be aligned yourself, your product, your service with people's upgraded consumption. So you need to think about that what kind of product you attract the consumers, why they pay for you. So you talk about that heat differences that also could be translated as a differences in pressure. So that force that the companies in this market, in these industries, to also increase or improve their products and services in order to realize high-quality development. I believe as long as we make more efforts in this regard, we could, I believe everyone could get a piece of cake from that.
Next question, please.
谢谢主持人，部长您好。
Good afternoon. I'm with China Youth Daily and its associated website.
去年，习近平总书记
Last year, General Secretary Xi, when he visited different parts of the country, he said we need to cultivate the tourism industry as the pillar industry of the country. What is your take on this? What plans do you have to implement this vision? Thank you for your question. President Xi and the Party Central Committee attach great importance to the development of culture and tourism industry. And last year, the first tourism development conference was held, and General Secretary Xi made important instructions. He has positioned the culture and tourism industry as a key supporting industry of our economy, and while visiting numerous localities, he said that we have to cultivate the tourism industry as a pillar of the Chinese economy. And this is a great inspiration for the culture and tourism industry. And we believe, and this is due to President Xi's deep understanding about the pattern of modernization in different countries as well as in developed countries, and this is a scientific conclusion that he has drawn in terms of the journey of modernization. If you take a look at the journey in other countries, culture and tourism industry played a very important role even to this day. The culture and tourism industry in some developed countries, they account for a big portion of their national economy. In some of the countries, it accounts for more than 20% of the economy. In China, the culture and tourism industry, they account for 4% and 5% respectively. Combined, they account for 9% of China's economy. So this is a very good foundation, but we still have tremendous amount of room for future development. Given China's social and economic development trend, we can see a greater driving force of consumption. Right now, one of the key factor that is impeding China's economy is sluggish domestic spending. So we can let culture and tourism industry play a much bigger role because it involves multiple groups of population and different consumption scenarios and a very long consumption chain. So culture and tourism industry can play a very important role in boosting domestic consumption. We have been earnestly learning and understanding the important instruction made by President Xi. We believe transforming culture and tourism industry into a key pillar of our economy will empower China's high-quality development. This is only fitting for the time being and for future periods of time. How to cultivate the culture and tourism industry into a key pillar of our economy? We have our own understandings. For example, number one, we need to allow planning to play a leading role. The culture and tourism industry should be incorporated into the drafting of national social and economic development plans so that from the level of strategic planning we can make some space for the culture and tourism industry. Meanwhile, we support different localities to adopt varied approaches based on their own realities so that we can put in place targeted measures in this regard. For example, we also need to strengthen the construction of infrastructure in tourism to cultivate the culture and tourism industry as a key pillar of the Chinese economy. This is a requirement from the top level of government, so we have to invest in tourism-related infrastructure. And since the opening up and reform policy, and since in particular entering the new era, China has invested heavily in culture and tourism. But if we are talking about a pillar industry or a key industry of the Chinese economy, we are still lagging behind in terms of infrastructure building. And there are some weak links in the culture and tourism industry. So in the future, we will have to mobilize more support to supplement those weak links. Additionally, we have to cultivate new business scenarios. We have, for example, sightseeing tours, maritime tours, immersive experience of tourism, among others. So we have to be inclusive and take an open approach and play a serving role to facilitate the growth of these new business scenarios and business modes. In particular, we have to support the integration of culture industry with technology. So technology can truly empower the cultural and tourism industry. We also need to optimize the business environment and scrutinize the market order. For any industry to succeed, we need to cultivate a number of fine enterprises. For them to flourish, we need to have a good business environment and a sound market order. Well, the culture and tourism industry grows over years, and we have seen a disorderly pattern of development, and there are good enterprises as well as bad enterprises, and we have forced spending in some localities, which undermines the travel experience of our tourists, and they also harm the image of a city. It's heartbreaking and even disappointing to see this phenomenon popping up in different localities. So that is why in this year we plan to carry out some special initiatives against those wrongdoings. Number one, we are going to strengthen our efforts in cracking down those violations. Number two, we are going to improve the system of law and regulations and set up some standards. Additionally, we are going to put credibility in the first place to create a social atmosphere that pays attention to credibility. Whenever a new cultural and tourism product is out there on the market, then there is a flood of enterprises going into that business, causing an active competition. So we have to straighten their behaviors so as to reshape the marketplace. So in our analysis, there is a lot we can do to cultivate the culture and tourism industry into a pillar industry, and we have to translate the vision and instruction of President Xi into reality. And to that end, we remain committed, and we believe that the culture and tourism industry will be cultivated into a key industry of the national economy. It will meet people's aspiration for better lives, even contribute further to China's socialist modernization drive. Thank you.
Let's welcome the third minister to the corridor, the Director of the General Administration of Sport, Mr. Gao Zhidan. The floor is open. Xinhua News Agency. Good afternoon. In the Paris Olympic stage, we could see that the Chinese delegations and athletes got a new record high. They excelled in the market. They loved by the country and the people. And also sport always become the trending topic. And what's the key focus of the agenda next year? Thank you for your question. I would like to first take this opportunity to say a big thank you for your support for our work. Yes, indeed, as you said, under the strong leadership of the Civic Central Committee and the State Council, and also loved by the people, that our delegates, our athletes, got the best performance in the Olympic and Paralympic stage, and show that the Chinese strengths and also the Chinese image, and also with the media's coverage and also the public attention, and the athletes also showed that sportsmanship and culture and their personal charisma also receive a lot of like online. I believe that it also showed that the confidence and also the strength of the China's sports prowess. That also showed that a new image of China. And also we talk about that if China is strong, then the sports industry will also strong. And also the General Secretary says that the sports is a very important way to meet the people's evergreen needs for a better life. It's a very important way to improve people's lives and also to drive that economic and social development, and also a very important platform to show that the soft power of the country. We should also to excel in the competitive sports arena. We should also to show that the different functions and also values of the sports in order to benefit the people's well-being, people's livelihood, and also to realize the goal that by 2035 we should build China into a leading sports nation and also write a new chapter for the sports industry. In terms of reform, we need to find a new driving force. The third plenary session of the 20th Party Central Committee, and we said that we should also to make that the strategic arrangement for the system and also the reform. And also we know that the very clear targets and missions to perform in this regard in terms of the strong powerhouse and also the reform. We right now also make the action plan in order to make sure that we could further mobilize that the country on the one master plan, and also to provide better service and products in the sports industry. And also we need to think about how we could build a new system that could further mobilize the national resources to improve that the capabilities at the competitive sports industry. And also we need to think about how we could modernize our management system and also how to cooperate with the market and to provide a better security and also to showcase the different regional features. So for the sports events, that first competitive, but also at the same time could show that the different features representing the different places. And also we should think about youth as well as elderly people, because they have quite a diverse and increased needs for practicing sports. So that fitness for all activities, we need to think about how to better improve the sports facilities for the public and also increase supply of these kind of facilities. And also for youth, we also need to enrich the content and ways of young people, and also encourage young people to build up their mind and strengths, mentally and physically. And also we need to conduct more the international exchanges and also to further consolidate the results gained in Paris, and also to do the preparation for the Milan events and also the Los Angeles events, and also for that the key sports like basketball, volleyball, football, and also that the basic items like the track and field, we also need to think about how to make better results. And this year we will have the national track and field competition for youth in order to further solidify the foundations for young people to practice sports. And also we would like to put more focus on how to further boost the economies. And the ice and snow area and also the outdoor activities need to think about the green transformation that could be happen in this regard in a more innovative way, and also that how the sports can play its role to improve the city's image, to make the contribution to rural revitalization, and to make contribution to promote the regional coordinated development, and to unleash the potential of sports consumption and also the integration model of Sports Plus. So all in all, we would like to let sports become one of the name cards of that local's development, and to also become a new driver to boost the economy and also to drive economic social development. In terms of increase the soft power of the country, we also need to think about something new we could do. So we talk about this is the spirit of the country and also a treasure of the country. So we should further leverage the sports to play its role in increasing patriotism, and also to put sports in the new era, in the current context, and also to enlarge the brand of sports and also tell a good story about sports in China. And also for the fandom, we also need to make sure that the fandom or the toxic fandom not erode sports. Thank you.
Next question, please.
Thank
you, CMG and Radio of China. My question is related to ice and snow sports. The Harbin Winter Games injected more momentum to winter sports, and people see that ice and snow are also invaluable assets. So my question is, how do we flourish the winter sports economy through winter sports? Thank you for your question. Winter sports and winter sports economy, they are buzzwords right now. And during the two sessions, and they have received great attention from the deputies. As you have mentioned, the Asian Winter Games in the past winter brought a lot of attention to Harbin, and in the southern part of the country, those winter sports facilities, they have been occupied by people. So the winter sports have brought a craze into winter sports economy and relevant business scenarios. In recent years, we have implemented the vision of President Xi to bring winter sports to 300 million people. We are also acting in a spirit of flourishing the winter economy, we have been constantly improving the facilities, the winter sports, and we have rolled out a number of initiatives, for example, the National Winter Sports Season and bringing winter sports to campus. In so doing, we have been flourishing the winter economy. During the bidding and the hosting process of the Olympic Winter Games of Beijing, and you can see a huge number of youth who were riding the waves on their snowboards, and right now the leading athletes on many arenas. And during the Harbin Asian Winter Games, the athletes, they went all out and created a record in history. So we have been promoting the construction of winter sports facilities, and during the 14th five-year plan, China has added 417 winter sports facilities in numerous farms. In Hulunbuir, the first ski resort in the city was introduced. The vast people from the general public, and they are able to experience the joy of skiing right by their doorsteps. And in other parts of the country, you can see a lot of ski resorts being rolled out. And winter sports have driven China's economy. The winter sports culture is in the formation, and it's integrated with a lot of innovation, and you can see that there are more and more types of sports facilities and gears in the three northeastern provinces in Beijing, Tianjin, and Hebei in China's northwest. You can see that winter sports are integrated with tourism, and throughout different regions there is a high level of coordination. At the end of last year, the General Office of State Council circulated the opinions on boosting China's winter sports industry, which laid out plans for the further development of the winter sports industry. Since entering this current ice and snow season, we have hosted 58 international ice and snow events, including the Asian Winter Games, and we have received a total of more than 190 million visitors with our winter sports facilities, up by 28% in the three northeastern provinces in Inner Mongolia and in Xinjiang. The traffic of ski resorts exceeded 76 million in Guangdong and Sichuan, two southern provinces. Their ski resorts, they are ranking second in terms of visitors, reaching 44 and 38 million respectively. We also have an increase of 30.2% of growth in terms of inbound skiers from overseas, and the total revenue hit 35 billion RMB. Going forward, we're going to further implement the spirit of the Central Economic Conference and the government work reports, so as to allow the winter sports to drive even greater economic development. We will stabilize the basic fundamentals of the 1 trillion RMB worth of market scale for the winter sports, and by 2030 we're going to have a total market scale of 2.5 trillion RMB for this industry. On this basis, we're going to step up in terms of the making of winter sports gears and facilities and sports tourism. And we will invest both financially and from a policy perspective, so as to facilitate the growth of winter sports enterprises. By introducing more policies, we will drive even greater consumption in this regard. In terms of the product offering, we encourage different localities to host high-end winter sports competitions. In so doing, they will generate a huge number of travelers, and they will also be able to transform their different localities into high-end destination for sports tourism. In so doing, ski lovers from overseas, they will gain more understanding about Yabuli, Beidahu, Alatai, among other ski resorts, and more skiers from overseas will travel into China for skiing and for tourism. And additionally, we have to strike a balance between development and safety. We will cultivate more winter sports talents and mobilize the public to get engaged in winter sports, and we will draft more standards, constantly improve the service capability of winter facilities, and improve the coordination between winter sports and sports economy, and constantly drive the high-quality growth of the winter sports economy. All right, thank you very much to Minister Gao. Dear friends from the media, and this is the end of the Minister's Corridor. I look forward to seeing you again next year. Thank you.
3 ministers have taken to the Minister's Corridor just now. They're in charge of natural resources, culture and tourism, as well as sports. They laid out the priorities in their respective area, and we got a comprehensive look into the developments in these 3 ministries.
And now let's check in with our host, Tian Wei, because China's annual political season has wrapped up, and she's always the one who gives us a preview at the end of the proceedings there. Good to see you, Tian Wei. So,
good to see you, Mama.
Talk to us about the highlights of this year's 2 sessions. You've been following the events there very closely, and you always give us a preview, around the same time every year. What do you have for us this time?
Well, a tremendous, I think, confidence and also fascination from China about innovation and the science and technological development. In fact, you find that in the government work report in terms of policies. For example, special areas are being emphasized for future development. Quantum technology, 6Gs, embodied AI, as well as biomanufacturing. You also know that through the government work report, special funds, not only coming from the central government, but also from local governments for developing of innovation in this country. It is not just the fascination in policies, but also in every conversation taking place during the 2 sessions this year. As you know, Mang Mang and our colleagues, this is the time when Chinese government policymakers, as well as some of the ministers of key government departments, to face the media once every year. And among all the press conferences, you could hardly find any conversation without the mentioning of innovation and science and development, and science and technology development. In fact, one of the senior finance officials in China pleasantly joked about that in his answer. He said one could hardly escape any question about that, no matter what the theme of the press conference. There is one press conference certainly stood out among all when it comes to China's determination for innovations and science and technological development. That is the press conference given by the Chinese Foreign Minister Wang Yi. In fact, CGTN posed a question to him about that with the latest example of DeepSeek and China's innovation. And he answered by saying where there is going to be blockade, there is going to be breakthrough. Where there is suppression, there is innovation. He also quoted the Chinese poems, as well as the quotes of Ne Zha, which is a household name in China, but once again being made so popular with the latest blockbuster movie recently popular during China's Spring Festival. He suggests that China is brave and China will be able to implement all its determinations, particularly in terms of innovation and science and technological development. Having said that, though, it's not just during the official occasions. It is also in the private conversations that you see among the deputies and CPPCC members earlier at the 2 sessions, that they are intensely discussing what to do about innovation and how to make it better. So innovation is the key word throughout this year's 2 sessions. To you. Back to you.
Tianwei, thank you so much. It's been a busy week for you and our colleagues covering the two sessions here in Beijing.
And I'll echo what Tianwei said just now. Pretty much every conversation we've had during the two sessions has the word technology or innovation in it. Why don't we shift gear and talk to our guests here in the studio about tourism, because the minister in charge of tourism has just spoken. China's visa-exempt policies have been very successful in 2024, bringing in significantly large number of foreign visitors to China. Mr. Adan, this is more than just having foreign tourists spending here in China. This is a window opened wider to the rest of the world. Can I have your comment on these policies? Of course, Mr. Wang said just now he hoped that more countries would reciprocate because some of these policies are one-sided. Your comment on this?
I hope so as well, but it's been remarkable what's happened in just a very short period of time. I remember it was 144 hours and even 72 hours a year ago, and the number of countries that have been included in this policy has rapidly expanded. The EU, most of the EU members states are now included. I think there's 3 that we're still waiting for as well. And indeed, we've seen an uptick in the number of tourists coming into China. I don't think we've reached the peak that we were at in 2015, so we still have some room to go. And so extending that to other countries, as you mentioned, would certainly help. For us, it's not just about tourism, though. Obviously, focus on foreign investment here in China. We want to see businesses coming here. We want to see foreign employees coming here. We want to see Chinese employees going to work for their headquarters back in Europe as well. And in that regard, we don't have the expat representation here that we used to have 10 years ago. So I would like to see, for me, the ideal goal is to expand the countries covered, expand the number of time, and then for that to eventually result in more people coming here to live, to enjoy, to understand China, to explain it back to the rest of the world, to be able to attract more investment, and for us to add to that stabilizing force that we've talked about China being in the world economy. We can do even more of that by having more international representation here.
And in terms of tourism and cultural protection, because we have the good figures representing a rise in consumer spending in the tourism sector, for example, the Spring Festival holiday and other major holidays here where people could take a break and actually travel to different places. Your thoughts on the potential to have the tourism sector becoming a pillar industry of China's economy?
Well, certainly we should do that. Actually, according to World Tourism Organization, tourism accounts about 10% of global GDP. It's an enormous contributor and the key sectors. I think China now realizes that, and then China is accelerating that. And but I think there's a way to improve. Like we are all congested during the golden weeks, but maybe we should spread that out. Have holidays all year round, so our facility will be evenly used. And then the other thing I agree with Adam just mentioned, it's absolutely important. We have, this used to be 74, 144, now 240 days for, 30-some countries now. And then we have, 240 days for 59 countries coming to China. 1 month, it's space, but for about 15 days, visa free now. But we should have more. And also they extended half month visa free to 1 month for a number of European countries, for ASEAN, Japan, Korea. I would like to see that happen to the US, UK, and Canada. So we have more international tourists can come. I think that is the part we should do more, because we have the best, many of the best 5-star hotels and fast train networks. 70% of global fast train network are in China. 5G is, over 2.4 million 5G stations. So it's well connected. So the infrastructure is there, but can we attract more? If we have not reached the peak of 2015, let's do it. Let's really do it. But also, I think we should issue more green cards. We should attract more foreign students here, because foreign student study is a big business for UK, Canada, Australia. But why can't we make that a new industry? Talking about, we need more impetus to drive the economy, and education and culture combined will really make more sense. So I think absolutely the tourism is probably one of the next golden mine China can dig into and then making more infrastructure. But I will have to say Beijing and many others has improved a lot. Now you get off the airport, there's a big booth, see how to help you install APP, how to get WeChat, Alipay to do it. we get a lot of better results. But I think we can do more, and then let's have also the attract more people to live here and have more tourism, more journalists, and more bloggers, and let's do that. Let's have a travel to China in 2025, and then make it the year of the world for China in 2025. So I really think we could do more, and I think 10% of GDP is huge. And also we should encourage more Chinese to travel overseas too. They are ambassadors of China too. So it's welcomed by many countries as well, not just to Thailand. Maybe let's go to Europe and go to, so they can also improve relations with other countries. So let's get this two-way street traffic heavier, and let's have more tourism to boom our industry and income.
Traveling is perhaps one of the best effective ways to get people going, the exchange of hearts and minds, and to promote cultural understanding. I'd like to thank you, gentlemen, for sitting with us throughout the hour and analyzing the policy priorities here, Mr. Wang Huiyao and Mr. Adam Burnett. Thank you.
Thank you.
In China, Ne Zha has smashed box office records. Beyond Ne Zha 2's record-breaking streak in China and overseas is its resounding impact on domestic tourism and consumer spending. Ne Zha raises a bigger question: can it evolve into China's next global IP? Our Tao Yuan finds out.
A new Chinese animation is on its way to becoming a box office hit. Ne Zha 2 has already broken the record for China's highest grossing film.
So you're telling me that there's a new movie in theaters that is somehow already the highest grossing animated film of all time?
It's based off a Chinese folklore that millions of Chinese would already be familiar with.
The world first responded to Ne Zha with a who? Well, Ne Zha the boy is a character from ancient Chinese lore famed for stirring up the sea. Ne Zha the film is a Chinese animated blockbuster that's stirring up global cinemas.
Oh my gosh, amazing. It was incredible. Such a beautiful film. It was the first Chinese animation that I've seen, and I absolutely loved it.
They're going to be surprised with all the graphics that's in it, how the movie just pop out at you.
I love the clothing and the music, and I love the dragons. The dragons are really cool. I love fictional animals, so that was really cool.
It's a non-Western narrative breakthrough. Ne Zha 2, a sequel to the 2019 hit, now ranks 6th on the all-time global box office chart. The first film produced entirely outside Hollywood to claim such a spot. The film, based on the legend of the demon child, is writing a legend of its own. While Ne Zha 2 makes a splash in the cinematic world, its ripples reach far beyond the big screen. Yibin in southwest China's Sichuan province. The city perched on the banks of the Yangtze River has always attracted seasonal visitors. But this year, tourism has soared, with the city claiming historic ties to the boy god. Cuiping Mountain, home to the Ne Zha Palace. Legend has it that after his tragic death, he appeared in his mother Lady Yin's dream, asking her to build him a palace on Cuiping Mountain. The mythological tale is the foundation of the shrine's existence.
I come from Guangdong province. I saw the movie, so I wanted to come visit this temple.
Because of the huge popularity of the Ne Zha movie, I wanted to bring my child here to experience the Ne Zha atmosphere.
I come from Xi'an. I am honored to visit this place. I feel that Ne Zha inspires us to break through our limits and change our circumstances.
Hotel bookings in Yibin spiked by 30 to 50% year-on-year in the week following the release of the film. Tourist traffic to the Ne Zha Palace reached up to 8,000 visitors a day, 3 times the usual number.
I especially remember one auntie who told me that she traveled over 20 hours from Guangdong province just to visit our Ne Zha Palace. Her group of more than 10 people made the same long trip, and there were even tourists from Thailand and other countries.
The film is making waves in Southeast Asia, dominating the silver screen in Singapore and being rolled out in the Philippines, Malaysia, and Thailand. Here in Yibin, though, Ne Zha is far more than just a screen hero. Locals here told me there was an old temple on this side which was built centuries ago, and this one standing right now was built or rebuilt back in 1991. So we can see there's a long-standing Nezha worship tradition here in Yibin City, and it's not something that's just been invented for tourism. And that tradition is something that the locals here are actually quite proud of.
In Yibin, from folk traditions to ancient relics, attractions and cultural sites linked to Nezha can be traced back at least 1,000 years. There are more than 20 historical and cultural landmarks related to Nezha, from the divine child's descent to the havoc in the East Sea, including Nezha's palace, Chentang Pass, Nezha's birthplace, and Rebirth Pavilion, all of which mirror the narratives found in the myths. As a result, many regard this city as the hometown of Nezha, viewing him as a child of Yibin. It's a sentiment deeply felt by the locals.
Online, a playful battle rages. Which city is Nezha's true hometown? Cities staking their claims, citing geographical and historical references. Tianjin is also making a strong case. The city in northeastern China has a sub-district named Chentangzhuang, and according to local lore, it equates to Chentang Pass, the very area once garrisoned by Nezha's father.
We launched 4 themed routes called Nezha Takes You Around Tianjin that showcase Nezha's elements through in-depth guided tours.
The Nezha origin battle has triggered some skepticism. Critics say that Nezha is a mythical figure, so there can't be a bona fide hometown. Perhaps it's not a factual title to be won, but other experts see the clashing claims as a win for all, fueling cultural pride and sparking consumer spending.
Some places might not even have deep historical ties to Nezha, yet he belongs to all of China, a shared cultural icon for every Chinese. That's why regions and organizations have every right to ride the Nezha wave and channel his energy to build their own cultural and tourism initiatives. It's a business strategy, and it fuses local strength with high-profile IP elements. It's a creative integration. In a sense, wherever there are Chinese communities, you will see Nezha-inspired cultural tourism emerging. This isn't just a regional affair. It's a nationwide, pan-Chinese cultural tourism bonanza.
Yibin's claim is strong. In 2019, the city was awarded the title of Hometown of Nezha Culture by China's Folk Literature and Art Association. But the film plus tourism model is driving a wanderlust all across China. Online travel platforms reported that searches for Nezha 2 related attractions surged over 40% in February. Li Xiang, an associate professor at Sichuan University's College of Arts, believes the travel boom isn't just about trends, it's about pride.
From the end of last year to the beginning of this year, China has experienced a series of cultural events, including the explosive success of Black Myth Wukong, as well as advancements in artificial intelligence like DeepSeek. I believe these events might, in turn, stimulate cultural consumption, because, in a very tangible way, they've strengthened people's cultural confidence and their sense of identity with the country's culture.
Black Myth Wukong, China's first blockbuster video game. Since its launch last August, it quickly set the record for the second most concurrent player count on Steam.
But what solidified the milestone status?
My colleague Yang Chengxi reporting on its success during the height of the monkey fever.
Wukong is a character in the classic novel Journey to the West, which for many non-Chinese gamers worldwide is known primarily through loosely adapted anime and games from outside China. Black Myth Wukong represents the first major opportunity for a Chinese team to present its own interpretation of this ancient classic.
For the longest time, I got to play as Japanese ninjas, Arab assassins, and Greek gods. And now I'm playing as this powerful Chinese monkey in a AAA game.
China has much more to offer for the global gaming scene, and many would hope that this is only a start.
It's only a start on many fronts. Black Myth Wukong was seen as a milestone, a super IP which has laid down the infrastructure for a cross-industry gold rush. Co-branded goods flew off the shelves, From collectible figurines to coffees and stamps, bikes to clothing. Where Wukong cracked the door, Ne Zha kicked it open. Character-driven toy stores are the hangout spot for China's Generation Z nowadays. The practical purpose of these toys is probably zero, but for young buyers, they're emotional anchors, almost like owning a piece of the stories that you love. These products sold out just days after the film came out and are now available only through pre-order, with some waiting time stretching into the summer.
It's really popular, completely sold out. It's out of stock nationwide. If you want to buy it, you will have to wait until June.
It's beginning to look like a page from Hollywood's playbook. A successful IP doesn't just live on the big screen. It reigns a business empire.
Some of my favorite stuff we do at Marvel are the toys.
By some estimates, Marvel's merchandise sales topped $40 billion by 2020, more than every single Marvel movie combined. And then there are the Disney World rides that rack up 70% of the company's operating income. Ne Zha's IP journey has only just begun. To grow into a Marvel-like franchise, it needs a fully developed commercial ecosystem.
Only when China's film market grows in scale with a mature industrial system and each IP gains stability will market risks drop and development will gain steam. Ultimately, industry spawned from an IP should have no boundaries. It's limitless. Anything can be bolstered by an IP plus approach. We all have basic needs: clothing, food, shelter, transport, and our demands drive consumption, and consumption creates new markets.
Driving the IP's growth is more than just fandom. The film also rekindles a deep sense of cultural pride, which in turn feeds into its success. The storyline is loosely inspired by the Ming Dynasty novel Investiture of the Gods, dating back 500 years. Cutting-edge technology helped to bring ancient stories to life. This is where it all started for Ne Zha, an unassuming office in a government-subsidized incubator park in Chengdu. The place has become a tourist attraction itself, symbolizing how a scrappy, homegrown team has flipped the script on global cinema. For too long, Chinese stories were filtered through a Western lens. Mulan's warrior spirit translated into a Disney musical. Kung Fu Panda's humor wrapped in Hollywood punchlines.
Don't tell monkey.
But the lens is shifting with Ne Zha too. Executive producer Chen Changjiang told me the team's decision to keep all productions in China rather than outsourcing it abroad was driven by a deeper cultural connection. People who lived the story must tell it.
The domestic team all speak the same language, so no translation is needed. When you mention Ne Zha, they know everything about him, his past, his future, his origin. For example, something as simple as the golden cudgel, we all know what it is, the staff used by the Monkey King, the sea-coming needle. Over there, they don't know that. You have to explain to them where the golden cudgel came from, how it was made, and you end up explaining the entire 5,000 years of history. So this is the communication issue that arises from cultural differences during collaboration.
Critics had worried it might be too Chinese to travel, but raving reviews quickly dismissed those concerns.
So it's obviously there's a lot of great action, but there's also a lot of touching scenes. There's also a lot of philosophy. And I think it's combined a lot of layers. So I think that that's really incredible because it's a major achievement. And I think everyone in China, particularly in the Chinese film industry, should be really proud.
This is much more than competitive in the Oscar categories. I'm looking forward to seeing this film compete in next year's Oscars, and I hope to see it so that I have an opportunity to vote for it as well.
I'm so encouraged by what's happening in the Chinese animation market, and I just want to encourage all the script writers and animators and artists out there to continue to reach for great quality. You already have a wonderful culture with interesting legends and folk tales. do that, bring that to the world, and I think they're going to love it and love you for it.
The lesson, originality isn't a barrier, it's a bridge. The question now, is Ne Zha 2 just a spark, or is it a blueprint for a lasting global IP? For now, Ne Zha's fire is burning bright. But to sustain growth beyond the Big Bang, the sequel to this story is still being written. Taoyuan, CGTN, Chengdu.
That is it for our special coverage on the 2 sessions this year. I'm Zhongshi.
I'm Wang Mengmang. Thank you for being with us throughout the hours, and do stay tuned with CGTN for some more in-depth analysis of this key political event.